certified instructor in combat sistema, cinco mano eskrima, modern arnis. I've got more energy healing credentials than McDonald's sells hamburgers. I've been a Reiki master teacher since the early 90s, since before Reiki was even cool. I've been a Huna practitioner and a Kabbalah practitioner since before Madonna ever heard of Kabbalah. So I'm very much a pre-Madonna. Advanced DNA theta healing, Bengston energy, and of course, I'm working on my doctorate in medical Qigong. And when people, especially first-timers, see me talking about this stuff, they often say, dude, what's up with that? What does any of this have to do with influence persuasion? Well, it's what these things have in common that makes them relevant. Okay. And that's pattern recognition. You see, patterns are everything. Human beings are pattern-driven creatures. Everything we do, from the way we think to the way we talk to the way we move, has a structure and a pattern to it. And if you have the ability to recognize these patterns, you can use them to influence people pretty much to do whatever you want them to do, and then some. And that's what we're going to start talking to you about tonight. Is we're going to talk to you about certain patterns that are universal to human beings. And if we understand these processes, we can use them to get a predictable result, and we can do it in an ethical and effective way. So when people ask me, what does all these things have in common? Pattern recognition. What does pattern recognition have to do with human influence? Pretty much everything, right? Pretty much everything. So let's jump in. Like I said, is this class for you? Well, if you can answer yes to any of the following questions, you're in the right place. So go ahead. If this applies to you, type it in the chat. How many of you, by a show of hands or a show of me, that's me in the chat, would like to be more? If you stay until the end of this webinar, I'm going to teach you the fastest, most powerful, and ethical way to influence anyone to like, love, trust, and obey you that you've ever seen. And you'll do it in such a way that people will actually like you and love you more for it. It's amazing how powerful this is, right? How to have people hanging on your every word. It's so simple to get people so hooked into you that they won't leave you alone. So your problem won't be attracting people or connecting with people. Your problem will be actually getting them to go away. So we'll have to show you in Killer Influence how to do that. We actually do that. We teach you how to make people go away, how to have people salivating to do what you want them to do, right? How to control your emotions and remove resistance to your influence. And finally, we're going to give you the exact steps you need to go from interesting information to maximum persuasion and transformation in minimum time. So if you're ready, I want to go ahead and start off with a simple question. Let me go back to my picture here. How many of you, by a show of thumbs up or a raised hand or a that's me in the chat, how many of you would like to be up to 30% better at everything? Go ahead and type that in the chat. Raise your hand, type that in the chat. Cool. All right. So, excellent. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to tell you how it works, and then we're going to play with it a little bit. Would that be okay? You want to be 31%? Oh, Mike is obviously a veteran. He knows what's coming, and that's okay. All right. So here's what we're going to do. Now, the secret to doing this is to be as playful as humanly possible, as easygoing. Don't take yourself seriously, that kind of stuff. In fact, when you come to Killer Influence in June, we'll talk about that. When you come to our Killer Influence or our CPI trainings or even Identity by Design, one of the first things that we have to do is we have to remove the I'm too serious about my life stick out of our butts. So one of the first things that I do at the seminars is I have people stand up. I have them look at the people immediately to their right, immediately to their left, stick out their hand and go, and I have them do it for like a minute. If you've experienced that in the seminar, type I did that in the chat. Kenny, just in case. Lisa, I did that. Bert, I did it. Yeah, right. You laugh. The biggest challenge to being effective at influence is taking yourself too seriously. Seriously, it's the kiss of death. Right now, the reason I do that with my group for two reasons. One, to get them over the hump of being made. Yeah, thank you, Omar. Of being afraid of actually approaching or being made fun of or whatever. The second is to prove that as a hypnotist, I can in fact get you to do something you don't want to do. Right. So obviously, I can't make you raspberry each other. We actually call it the raspberry drill in our tally sheets. Right. I can't make you do that today, but if I could, I would. So we're going to do something almost as good. I want you all, if you're driving, by the way, and you want to participate in this exercise, pull off to the side of the road, put the car in park, turn the ignition off, put the emergency brake on, make sure a cop's not going to come over and tap on your window, and follow along. If you're listening to this webinar and you're driving, if I'm asking you to do drills, please wait for the replay or go someplace where it's safe for you to do these drills. Because again, we work with altering states of consciousness in this drill and teaching you how to control your psycho-emotional state. So we don't want you focused, being distracted by something when you're driving or operating heavy machinery or anything that requires your full and undivided attention. Okay. So for my sake, for your sake, I want you to participate, but if it puts you in any kind of danger to do so, wait until the replay. Okay. I'm not that adamant to get you into Planet David that I want you dead. Right? Is it me or did it go dark? I think it's you, because none of the lighting's changed here, Roland. Okay. Anyway, so here's what I want you to do. I want you to stand up, and I want you to close your eyes, and I want you to think or remember a time in your life when you felt one of two things: either absolutely playful or the most powerful, amazing pleasure imaginable. Now, I'm not going to ask you what the pleasure was. So I don't care how many state lines you crossed, how many laws you broke, what substances were involved. I don't care. All I care about is when you tap into that memory, you tap into that experience, it's the best feeling ever. So if you can do playful, do playful. If you want to do pleasure, do pleasure. Both will give us the mental state that we need, and they're often connected. So you get a double whammy there. So here's what we're going to do. I want you to close your eye. I want you to stand up. First of all, I want you to close your eyes, and I want you to remember that time when you were absolutely 100% playful or feeling the most intense pleasure ever. I want you to close your eyes. I want you to notice something. That there's let's start with this. Imagine what it might be like. Imagine if you're back in that memory. What might you see when you're in that place? And what might you hear? And what might you smell? And what might you taste? Because when you do that, when you're in that place and you see what you see and you hear what you hear and you smell and you taste what you smell and you taste, there's an amazing, wonderful feeling that you get. A feeling of being absolutely fun and playful, or absolute pleasure, or both. And I'd like you to notice that there's a place in your body where those amazing feelings start, where they grow and where they spread from. Take a moment and point to where you feel it. Now, as you look at that space with your inner eyes, I'd like you to notice that there's a color, maybe even a series of colors connected to those amazing feelings. Just notice for yourself what color or colors that might be for you. First impression. And now, whatever that color is, I want you to imagine a brilliant ball of that energy floating above your head. I'd like you to notice how the feelings in your body shift and change with every breath you take and every beat of your heart. That amazing ball of energy begins to grow, begins to expand, begins to fill the entire room from floor to ceiling, from wall to wall, and all points in between. Notice how it wraps itself around you like an amazing blanket of playfulness, of fun, of pleasure, a cocoon, a shield, a suit of armor, insulating and protecting you from all bummers, all downers, all seriousness, real or imagined, while at the same time flooding your mind, flooding your body, flooding your spirit with everything it most wants and everything it most needs in an infinite, ever-expanding, and unlimited supply. And when you know you've got that, take a moment. Breathe those amazing colors through your entire being. Let it fill you up like water fills up a bottle, like fluid fills up a test tube, like hot air or helium fills up a balloon. Anchor it in so fully, so completely, no force in the universe can turn it off or take it away. Not even you. And when you realize it's true, test it. Try to turn it off. Try to take it away. Notice what happens instead. Now take a moment and just really be in that state for a moment. Be in that feeling. And when you're satisfied, and only when you're satisfied, stop testing and absorb yourself in it. Just dissolve in it. And then when you're ready, allow your eyes to open and type what you experienced in the chat. Rocky says yellow. Joy, Tatiana says excellent. Now, here's why we do this. First of all, in the field of hostage negotiation, arguably next to maybe dating and pickup, one of the most challenging fields is hostage negotiation. What the FBI and Behavioral Analysis Unit discovered is that when the hostage negotiator entered into a negotiation with a bad guy, and they were playful and easygoing and more laid back, they were 31% more perceptive, 31% more intelligent, 31% more adaptable. But even most importantly, and this is really germane to tonight's webinar, their counterpart, the hostage taker, was up to 31% more compliant. Now think about how often you get yeses in your life versus how many times you hear the word no. What if 31% more of the people you interacted with told you yes to what you wanted? What would that do for your life? Type in the chat what that would do for you. Joyful, enthusiastic. Okay. feed my personal power. More money? Absolutely. That would be awesome, right? Okay, so here's the deal. That's actually one of the aside from the actual verbal techniques I'm going to share with you tonight, this is one of the single most powerful ways to up your closing rate. And when I say close rate, I'm talking about getting a yes, getting somebody to want to do what you want them to do, than actually doing it. If you approach every single interaction in a playful, easygoing, pleasure-based state, people's mirror neurons will pick it up. It will radiate that energy in their body. They will feel it too. And they will become more connected to you, right? I'm going to show you in a few moments, I'm going to show you what we call the Universal Persuasion Protocol. This is a map that teaches you how to exert influence anytime, anywhere, under any circumstances, regardless of context. But one of the first things it teaches you, it tells you to do after you know what you want to achieve is control your state, right? Now, we devote almost an entire day and a half sometimes to state control training in our live workshops. So obviously I don't have that kind of time. So I had to give you something quick and easy that you can do, right? The moment you tap into this playful, fun energy, you radiate that out into the world and people's defenses go down. People become more open to you. People become more willing to be approached, and you become more approachable, right? So again, when ladies talk to me about why all the wrong guys seem to come up to them, it's a lot of time it's because they're signaling inapproachability, right? So this is it seems like a little tiny drill. It's something you should be doing 3, 4, 5, 6 times a day, because the other side of that is the more pleasure you generate in your body, the more body feelings that are analogous to pleasure, the more oxytocin your system secretes. Now, why are we talking about hormones and neuropeptides and endorphins and stuff like that? It's because oxytocin is known as the bonding hormone. Okay, when a mother is holding a child, her system is flooded with oxytocin. Yes, Kenny, that's why we give chocolate at all the seminars, because it's aside from avocados, which are not nearly as cool as chocolate, chocolate seems to have the highest level of naturally occurring oxytocin. Kenny's eating some now, just awaiting our prompt. Well done. I've obviously trained you well, my stallion, right? But the other thing is that oxytocin, if enough of it is secreted in the body, generates a state we call neuroplasticity. Now, what does that mean? Neuroplasticity is a term that talks about the speed and ease with which your brain creates new neurological connections. In other words, how fast you learn, or in some cases, unlearn stuff. So if you've got habits you want to get rid of, and you want to accelerate that process, generate tremendous amounts of pleasure in your body first. We call it oxytocin loading. Generate tremendous amounts of oxytocin in your system, and then engage in whatever retraining you want to do, because oxytocin has the ability to soften up past programming. It's like melting the wax of a candle and letting it reform in a new pattern, right? That's the best way I can really explain what enough oxytocin in the system will do. One of the ways you can generate your own oxytocin, there's 3 ways, right? First one, chocolate or avocados. Second one, lots of hugs for like 20 minutes at a time. Or, ready for it, 20 to 30 minutes of machine gun intense orgasms, right? Now, obviously, logistically, machine gun orgasms are not something we can do on a webinar, although I do have a class for that. But oxytocin and generating pleasure sensations, laughter will do it as well. These are all things that will amplify the oxytocin in your system. And not only will it make you more approachable, not only will it make the people you interact with more compliant to you, it will actually cause you to learn and transform faster. So, is that useful? Type in the chat if you think that's useful. Excellent. Okay. So, not that I want you to go out and binge on chocolate. Dark chocolate is probably best. Naturally, more organic dark chocolates are probably going to be healthiest. But But again, this is one of the reasons why we've done this. We've done this for almost 20 years now. And we've always, as long as we've been doing meetups and stuff like that, we've always handed out chocolates and coffee for people because it actually accelerates learning. And there was actually a study I posted in my mastermind group that it's proven that this stuff actually does increase your intelligence, right? Jacob says, I'm trying to influence my girlfriend into the orgasms. I told her she could learn more. Yes, Jim, we do have a, see that the minute I talk about it, nobody wants to talk about persuasion anymore. I knew I shouldn't have said anything, but yeah, it's called sensuality enhancement, erotic hypnosis made easy. All right, so let's get back to influence and persuasion. But do you understand why I spend so much time now on getting your state in control? Because one of the things that you're going to be learning as you go through the techniques today is how to create body feelings in other people. But we're going to do that. We're going to give you the experience of it, starting with you, right? So the first thing we do is we want to control our state. The next thing we do is we want to get rapport, and then we want to use our language to amplify that emotional connection and get inside a person's psyche and their hearts and emotions. Does that make sense? So Tatiana is asking, why is my, hold on a second, things are going by really fast. David, why is my happy feeling, is it my happy feeling is in the same place in my body where I'd point to when I'm spinning or because many times there's different vibrational frequencies that can be in the same area. So it's not uncommon. A lot of times the things that make us feel good, the heart is a repository for long-term memories. So if you have a negative memory, it can be locked in the heart as well, right next to a positive one, right? And it's really about the sorting system or the search engine that you're using, right? In fact, one of the things when we do some of our other healing workshops, we'll show you, a lot of times people will point to their heart because it's this, not only is it the source of joy, it's also the source of the repository for a lot of long-term memories. It's either in the heart or it's in the solar plexus is where you see a lot of that. So don't worry about it. It's a big space and it's vibrational. So you have lots of storage, right? Okay, so how many of you would like to learn the secret back door into the human nervous system that leads to unstoppable influence and maximum attention, focus, and connection in minimum time? Would that be useful? Okay, so the next technique we're going to talk about is one of my absolute favorites. It's the simplest and easiest to deploy. And if you apply this technique, I promise you, your life will change, okay? So what we're going to do real quick is just so I can concentrate a little bit, I have to jump out of this window, the chat window, and I'm going to go up and I'm going to unshare my screen. I'm going to reshare it because I need to give you a different window. And there we go. Okay. So what you're seeing here, I don't know if I can, let me just jump out of this. Okay. So what you're seeing here is a technique we call the echo technique. This is a technique that is based on, and NLP kind of was the first one to really discover this principle that I know of. But also other systems have discovered the phenomena too. Now, if you look at, I think it's Ariely's work on cognitive biases, you'll hear about a bias called the self-generation bias. If you look at David Grove's work on clean language, you'll see a version of this. If you look at Alexander Penland's research on honest signals from Stanford, you will find that this phenomena arises as well. So what does this mean? Anything the neurology generates, the neurology accepts. So the takeaway for this is the most powerful words any human being can hear at any given moment are the ones that just came out of their mouth. We call this, in our world, we call this the echo technique. And the reason for that is because it tells you exactly what you want to be doing, right? So there's a lot of neuroscience that supports this now. Back in the early days of NLP, it was just something we observed, right? But here's a key takeaway for this. Human beings never resist themselves. Anything the human nervous system generates, the human nervous system accepts. Okay. So when you use a person's very own words with them, they can't not pay attention. And the reason for that is they're moving through the world projecting a checklist, if you will, of themselves out into the world and looking for the people who match. One of the fastest, most powerful ways to signal a match is to give them their very own words back to them. Okay. Before I jump into all the reasons why we do this, does anybody have questions about this, of what I've talked about so far? Yes, give them their words back to them, Kenny. No questions? We're good to go? All right, so why do we want to use this? A, it will literally force a person's neurology to pay attention to you. How many of you, by a show of hands in the chat, have ever been at a party? Maybe there's a lot going on, it's noisy, and you're on one side of the room, and there's people on the other side of the room, and somebody across the room mentions your name to somebody else, and from across the room, you go, hello? Right? How many have ever done that? How did that work? Why does that work? It's because you have two levels, arguably more, but for simplicity's sake, you have two levels to your awareness. You have your focus of attention and you have your unconscious attention. Your other than conscious mind, the part of you that controls your heartbeat, that controls your lungs, that keeps your hormones balanced, is constantly scanning the environment for anything that is potentially relevant to you. And so even though you're a deep conversation over here and you're talking about this and that, the moment your unconscious mind detects anything that's related to you, it pings you, right? It draws your attention to it. You've all been in situations or circumstances, a party, maybe a dance club or a wedding reception, where you're doing something and you feel something on the back of your neck, and you look around behind you, and all of a sudden you see somebody staring at you, either with good intent or not so good intent, right? Same idea. Your proprioceptive neurology, that part of you that's constantly aware of the spatial relationships between you and everything else, is constantly scanning that environment, looking for anything that it thinks is important. Now, how does it determine if things are important? Well, it's either something that signals friend or pleasure or danger, right? So when you start to use the echo technique, even if you don't do it well, you will neurologically force a person to pay attention to you. And remember, Rob is saying, can you not influence that person across? Of course you can. Of course you can. We train you how to do that, right? But we're at the kindergarten level, that so the mass majority of people can go out and make changes. So, but the best part about the echo technique is you have to remember that human beings have filters to their awareness. They have filters to the data that they can consciously process. And when people speak, the words that come out of their mouth, this is important. The words that come out of their mouth are a key to lock fit to every filter, need, and value that they have. So when you go and give them their exact words back to them, they feel instantly heard, validated, understood, and approved of. Think about that for a moment. What would it be like if you talked to somebody and every time we're in a conversation with this person, they made you feel like you were the most important person in the world? What would that be like? What would you do for that person? Type it in the chat. Anything, right? And that's, again, the power and the danger of the echo technique. Okay. First and foremost, this is not New Age mumbo jumbo. It's not pseudoscience. This is neuroscience now. This is the neurology of it, right? If you use it, it will work. Now, couple of things I want to give you. I'm going to give you some other reasons why we want to use this. I'll do a little brief one-on-one, David doing two, being split personality for a moment, so you can see what this sounds like in application. But there's two ways you can think about the echo technique. You can think about it like a persuasion trick, and if you deliver it congruently, it will still work. But I want you to think of the echo technique now as your normal go-to way of moving through the world. Every time you meet someone, I want you to just instinctively echo something about what they say or do. I like words better than gestures because they're easier to track and you don't look weird doing it. Okay. And I want you to come from the place, and we teach you this in Killer Influence. I want you to come from a place of absolute sincerity and a sincere desire to connect and understand the person you're doing this with, not to, but with. And what happens is when you do it that way, even if they realize you're repeating their words back to them, it will not matter. Because the worst that can happen is I say, why are you repeating everything I say? All you got to do is look at them and from the place of true sincerity, say, I just want to make sure that I understand you and communicate to you that I understand what you're saying. Is that okay? Now, if they say no, you've got bigger problems. Kenny says, so every time we meet new people, it's a good idea to develop the habit of echoing them so they feel better. Yes. Yeah. Here's the secret to this. Do this on people. Again, don't take this in a negative way. Do this with people who don't actually matter. Now, what do I mean by everyone matters? Okay, let's be honest. Everybody has value. But here's the thing. The best way to practice this is to move through the world, making everyone you meet feel really, really good just for having met you. Okay. And then when you're in front of people who you need something from, or to do something for you, you'll have practiced this so many times and be so congruent with it, it'll just become a natural part of your speaking. The more reps you get with this, the more powerfully you'll integrate it into your everyday form of speaking. Now, I'm going to tell you right up front, it's going to feel weird when you start doing this. Okay. It's called the spotlight effect. The spotlight effect is that feeling of self-consciousness we experience anytime we deviate from something that's not intuitive for us. It's like we're wearing somebody else's clothes, or we're doing a script. And because of the projection phenomena that human beings have, we think that because we know we're doing something different from what we would normally do, that everybody else is going to perceive it too. And that is completely false. Human beings are tremendously, tremendously selfish creatures. And that's something that you can use to take to the bank or to find the right kind of people. Okay. Selfishness is not a bad thing if it's managed, right? You just have to find people who manage it better than others. Does that make sense? Right? Cool. All right. So some of the benefits of the echo technique, once again, is it can literally, hold on a second. All right. By the way, how many of you hate small talk? This was one of my biggest things, is because if I'm surrounded by people that are talking about things I'm interested in, man, I'll just talk my head off, right? But if you're around people that you have nothing in common with, you don't know from Adam, boy, conversations can be painful. True, not true? True, not true? Yeah. The beautiful part, one of the neurological effects or side effects of using the echo technique with another human being is what we call the self-disclosure phenomena. What happens is when a person starts receiving their very own words back to them, they start talking more. They feel safe. They feel comfortable. They feel validated. And who are they looking at when all those feelings come up? They're looking at you. Guess who gets connected to all those feelings? Does that make sense? That's the second reason to do this, right? It sends powerful, here's another thing. The echo technique sends powerful signals of sameness to the person you're talking to. So not only are they hearing their own words back, not only are they feeling heard, understood, connected, and validated, they start to think, oh, they're just like me. And if someone, that's called the self-generation bias, or the identification principle. When people start to feel that you are like them, the bonding accelerates. The barriers to intimacy and trust go down. Intimacy comes up, trust comes up, connection goes up, and they will fight to keep your attention. They will fight to keep you as part of their life in whatever context you're interacting with them. Would that be useful? Type it in chat. Okay. One technique plus playfulness equals this. Think about it. All right. That's 2. Right. So again, it matches every filter they have. It signals validation, trust, and connection. It makes them feel you're just like them. It primes them to keep talking. And that's the beauty of it. Because the longer they talk, the more attractive you become. And when I say attractive, I mean in terms of trust, rapport, physical or romantic attraction, you name it. They just go up. It's not uncommon for people to be on the. We have a protocol called 3 Magic Questions, which we may get to today, depending on what your questions are and where you want to go. That teaches you how to go from complete stranger to bordering on the verge of falling in love in as little as 20 minutes, if you can echo their words properly, pay attention to their nonverbal cues, and just have them keep talking. Okay, it's that powerful. Okay. So when we train this, we have a specific formula that we teach people. So because it's a webinar and I don't have time to give you the full 5-day training, I'm going to give you what I call the sample platter. Okay. And I'm just going to move you through each of the different things as much as possible. We got like 3 or 4 more drills that we're going to do. And then if it's okay with you, I'd like to share with you some programs I've put together to help you learn this material better. Is that fair? Would that be okay? Type it in the chat. Okay, cool. All right. So what I'm going to share with you now is called the Master Echo Sequence. So for babies, and I don't mean to call you babies, but for people who are brand new to our technologies, it's good enough. It's good enough to just use their words that come out of their mouth as often as you can. For people who want to actually become agents of influence, human influence technologists, or technicians, as I like to call them, we have a next level algorithm that we use. It's a simple, there's 5 or 6 steps to it. It's things you do that you build the echo into. We call this the Master Echo Sequence. Okay. So the Master Echo Sequence is very, very simple. Let me make sure I can fit this on the screen. Good. All right. And the way this works is you ask a question, you pay attention to the response that you get, you validate what they said, and then you ask another question. Okay. So let me repeat that 3 more times so you can write it down, or if you want to take a screenshot, you can. You ask a question, you pay attention, you validate their response, you echo their words, you ask another question. One more time with feeling. Ask a question, pay attention to the response, validate the response that you get, echo their words, ask another question. Now you'll often hear me say it like this: ask the question, pay attention, validate, echo, ask again. It's the same thing, right? Whenever you don't know what to say, whenever you don't know where to go next in a conversation, repeat the last thing they said, and then either wait or ask a question. It's really that simple. If you follow this formula, you will never, ever run out of things to say again. People that you meet will literally think you are the most fascinating person they've ever met. And 85 or more % of the conversation, they're carrying. This takes so much pressure off of you to be cool, to find the right thing to say, to to be witty or charming. If you are those things, great. This will only help you. But if you're someone who's, maybe in need of some remedial social skills, or you're a bookworm, or you spend a lot of time around tech where you don't have to deal with people because technology doesn't really call you names or reject. It does fight back. I have noticed that. But the idea here is how to take your skills to the next level. And this thing, it gives this particular technique combined with your state control is some of the biggest, most powerful persuasion amplifiers imaginable. Now, back in the early days, you guys saw I have a huge resume, martial arts resume. I was a professional martial artist for many, many years. In fact, I'm contemplating getting back into the game, but I got to get back into my fighting weight, if you know what I mean. But I'm thinking about starting to teach again, especially now that I'm doing a lot of the energetic medicine. Be that as it may, when I had my school in Coral Springs, Florida, people would call me up. My school was called Coral Springs Martial Arts Academy. Then we changed it to David Snyder Street Defense Institute. We were in Coral Springs, Florida. And this was how I got 80 or more % of my people to show up, right? I'm actually lowballing it. Most of them showed up when we used this process. But every now and then I forgot to use it and they didn't show up. So I'm telling you right now, if you use this process, people are going to show up. Would it be useful to have more people showing up in your life that you actually want to show up? Yeah, for sure, right? So here's what it sounded like. I'll give you a brief demo. Then we're going to go into the next piece, which is it builds on the playfulness. It builds on the echo technique. And then we're going to jump right into a person's heart, find their heartstrings and play some notes. And we're going to show you how to put it all together into a powerful, unstoppable persuasion engine. Okay. So it would sound something. I don't have I'll just pretend. All right. So ring, ring, Coral Springs Martial Arts Academy. This is David. How can I help you? Oh, hey, David. My name is Bernice, and I saw your sign, and I was interested in karate lessons for my 10-year-old son, Josh. Oh, hey, Bernice. Thanks for calling. So you saw our sign, and you were interested in karate lessons for your 10-year-old son, Josh? Yeah. Don't laugh. That's what they do. Yeah. I saw your sign, and Josh is a great kid, and he's really smart, but he's a little small for his age. And because he's so smart, his teachers have moved him up a grade. And I'm afraid that because he's a little bit smaller, that the kids might pick on him a little bit. And I'd heard that martial arts was a great way for kids to develop focus and concentration and discipline. And I was just wondering, do you have anything like that for a 10-year-old boy? Hey, Bernice, so let me see if I understand you correctly. So you saw our sign and you're looking for karate lessons for your 10-year-old son, Josh, and you say he's a good kid and he's really smart, but he's a little small and his teachers are moving him up a grade and you're afraid the bigger kids might pick on him a little bit. Yeah, David, can you help me? Absolutely. For centuries, the martial arts have been a powerful way for small people like Josh to develop the skills to protect themselves, but not just that, to develop the confidence and the focus and the concentration that allow them to excel in life. Now, we have a program specifically for kids like Josh in his age group where they're going to learn how to protect themselves from people who are bigger than them, how to develop focus and concentration, and really have that confidence to move through the world and be their best versions of themselves. I have we have a 3-day trial class. It's one private class and 2 group classes. It comes with a free uniform. And I have an opening today at 5:30, or I have one tomorrow at 5:45. Which would be easier for you and Josh to come and try a class out? Let me think. Maybe tomorrow, because 5:45 he can get home from school, he can do his homework, he can eat his dinner, and then his plate will be clear, and we can come and we can try things out. Great. I'm going to pencil you and Josh for tomorrow at 5:45, and we'll be prepared to get him on the fast track to becoming the best version of himself and have a lot of fun doing it. Bernice, it's been great talking to you. Do you have any other questions before we hang up? No, David, I think that's it. I'm so excited. Thank you so much for your time. You have a great day, Bernice. Take care. Click. Okay. Aside from me getting my phones mixed up, feedback. What did you notice about the interaction? Total echo, right? How much of what, again, obviously I'm doing both sides, but how much of my verbiage as the proprietor of a martial arts school was original, right? That's what it's like. Now, I'll tell you right now, 80 to 90% of the people that I did that with showed up continually, right? And you know that little thing where I said, yeah, that's exactly what they do. When you talk to people and you give them, especially in that context, and you give them their exact words back, they think this guy's brilliant. He knew exactly what I wanted, right? It signals understanding, right? And the barriers drop. So if you want to apply the master echo formula, Bernice felt acceptance for herself and her son. Absolutely. She felt completely safe with me because she heard exactly what she wanted to hear. What did she want to hear? Exactly what came out of her mouth. Exactly what came out of her mouth. That's what it looks like in application. If you want to see what this looks like in people who are testing me, go to my YouTube channel when you get a chance. Go to some of the early videos where I'm teaching this. And you'll see people challenging me from the audience, and I'm literally using the echo technique on them while they're challenging me, and they don't catch it. They don't catch it. Okay. I did this at Spycraft when I was co-teaching with Chase Hughes. Guy stood up, started challenging me, and you hear when we release the videos, you hear the entire audience is cracking up. He can't figure out why because I'm echoing everything he's saying, and he's arguing me about the echo technique. Lisa says, I'm autistic, and your advice has really helped me communicate with people that I'm listening to. Fantastic, Lisa. That is exactly why I do this, to help people. I had an autistic gentleman who came to our face reading class, and after the face reading class, he came up to me and he said, thank you so much for this class, because now I actually can begin to understand what I'm seeing in people when I talk to them, right? This echo technique is exactly like that. It allows you to simultaneously understand people better, pay attention to them more fully, and make them feel important. Lisa says, I remember that class. It was amazing. Absolutely. Okay. So that's the echo technique. Now we're going to take it further, right? How many of you would like to literally have people salivating to do what you want them to do? Just whatever product or service you have, whatever relationship you want, what would it be like to have them salivating to work or be with you in that context? Would that be useful? Okay. So what we're going to talk about next comes in two flavors. How many people here would like to be more motivated to do anything? Yes, no? Okay, me. Good. I got your attention. So what we're about to do together now as a class is called the Emotional Motivation Checklist. Let me repeat that. The Emotional Motivation Checklist. Now, the reason we call it the Emotional Motivation Checklist is because this particular version of this process is for you. It's to use on yourself, but it gives you an experience of what the person you're going to be using it with is like, right? When we use this with other people, like technically for me, because I'm doing it with you, I'm using what we call the emotional bonding checklist. Because you're going to be using it on yourself, it's now the emotional motivation checklist. The process is almost exactly the same. The difference is that when I start to utilize this with you, it's going to bond you very powerfully at a deep level to me and what I'm offering you. And that's what you came to learn how to do. True or not true? Type in the chat. True or not true? Okay. Best way to understand how to do it is to have it done, right? So before you go rushing to buy everything, let's experience the emotional bonding checklist, or in your case, the emotional motivation checklist. This is something that if you are into law of attraction, if you need to get your energy marshaled or your resources focused on a goal, this will do it faster than anything else. Okay. For those of you who are interested, I'll be doing a 45-minute talk tomorrow for the Best You Global Summit called The Ultimate Sales Formula: How to Sell Things to Anyone, Anytime, Anywhere, under any circumstance, for any reason. This is going to be a big part of it, because once you understand this, this is the heart and the soul of everything human beings do. You've often heard me say in other trainings that everything human beings do is in response to a feeling. It's either a feeling they want more of or a feeling they want a whole lot less of. If you've heard me say that, type it in the chat. If you've never heard it before, go ahead and say that, so I know who I'm dealing with. Okay, perfect. Excellent. When you do this, it's going to generate in the client, if you do it right, it's going to generate some of the most powerful body feelings imaginable, positive or negative, right? And then, and because we can generate these powerful feelings, we can now manage them. Wait, let's practice the echo when we answer. Okay, so let me share my screen really quick. We're going to take this in stages. So for this exercise now, you've got to participate. If you want to experience it, you know, understand the power of this, I need you to do what I tell you to do. Is that fair? Are you willing to do what I tell you to do to have the experience and get the benefits? Okay. Okay. Very good. So get out a piece of paper and a pencil. I would prefer a piece of paper and a pencil, or pen and a pencil, or pen and paper, because when you kinesthetically write things out, it activates more of your brain, right? In fact, one of the ways that we teach hypnotic language at Killer Influence, which you'll learn January 20th through the 24th, when you show up, is to write hypnotic language, because you can't listen to hypnotic language and learn it. It overwhelms your brain and you forget what you just heard. But if you write it, you retain it. So on a piece of paper, I want you to write something for me. When you enrolled in this webinar, when you signed up for the webinar, there was something you wanted to be able to do. There was something you wanted to be able to do. I want you to write at the top of that page what you want to be able to do as a byproduct of this training. Just go ahead, write what you want to be able to do as a byproduct of this training. And when you are done, type done in the chat. Excellent. Natalia says done. Kenny says done. Perfect. Now, underneath that statement, I'm going to ask you to write another question. What is it? And you can think of it one of two ways. We'll go with the basic one. What's it going to do for you? And what's important to you about it? So underneath the question you just wrote, I want you to write the following question: what's it going to do for me? And what's important about it? And I want you to answer that question. Take a minute, write out the answer, use the exact words that pop up in your head. This is really important. What's it going to do for me? What's important about it? And when you're done, type done in the chat. Excellent. Perfect. Now, under that, think of this as like section C. I want you to write the question, what's important about that? So look at the answer to the previous question of what it's going to do for you and what's important about it. And if you got those things, right? If you got the technique to get that result, and you got that result in a way that's appropriate and measurable for you, what's important about that? What's it going to allow you to do or feel or express? Just what's that going to do for you? What's important about that? Write that answer out. Done. Perfect. And I want you to do it one more time. Underneath the answer to that question, I want you to write out, ultimately, if you had that, what would that do for you or allow you to experience? Pay attention to the answer and the feelings you have as the answer comes up. And when you're done, just type final at the end so I know you're at the end of the sequence. Excellent. Very good. All right. So now, just for those of you who like a little bit more comprehensiveness and to show you I'm not holding back, here's pretty much a copy of what you just did. So if you want to take a screenshot of it, it's not exactly verbatim, but it's close. This is called the Emotional Motivation Checklist. So go ahead and take a screenshot of it, because what we're going to do next is going to be really powerful. And when you're done, type done in the chat. Okay, good. All right. So here's the exercise now. I want you to take your piece of paper. I'll use this. I want you to take your piece of paper. I want you to hold it at about a 45-degree angle to your head. And I want you to read only the answers to those 4 questions out loud 5 times. In other words, if I ask what's important about that, I'll be able to make more money so I can enjoy my life better. What's important about that? So I can have more freedom. What's important about that freedom? I'll be able to do whatever I want to do. Just repeat those answers verbatim 5 times out loud. And when you've done that, type done in the chat. Perfect. So here's my question for you. Remember what you felt like before you started writing? Remember what you felt while you were writing? And now remember what you felt after speaking the answers to those questions out loud, and tell me and write down the sequence. Bad girl. Okay. We got some weirdness going on here. How many people noticed strong emotions when you repeated those words out loud? Lisa says, calm, read 5 times. Now my heart is racing and flush and my neural network is on fire. Very good. Uncertainty to more confident. Yeah, it made me feel more real. I noticed strong emotions before I read it out loud. Yep. Okay. Now, the reason this works, I'll explain after the next piece, right? So for those of you who are ready to take it further, I have some programs that I'd like to share with you to show you how to level up with this. Are you guys ready for that? Can I show you that now? Good. All right. So bear with me. I switch screens yet again. Okay. So this is where we're at. And for those of you who are ready, hold on a second. There we go. With your permission, I'd like to talk to you about the Secrets of Human Influence Ultra Persuasion Home Study Program. Right? This is a program that I put together for people who are basically stuck at home, for people who want to amplify and be more effective in their life to get the things they want the way that they want it by their standards and their intentions, expectations. And it's designed to teach you how to become a master of human influence right from the comfort of your own home with me as your guide, with me as your teacher. And this particular program is all about getting more from the life that you want, getting more yeses, getting more fun, more freedom, more power, more confidence, the ability to help more people, making more money, closing more deals, getting more dates, helping more people, feeling more confident and powerful. It's about truly winning the game of life and becoming more charming, charismatic, and irresistible on the way. So here's what I put together. Now, this offer is good for today, June 8th, 2023 at 11:59 p.m. It expires. Our administrative goddess, Stephanie, is standing by. Our Holly and our Pet Bigelow and our Henry Krause and a bunch of our team are monitoring chats and communication lines. So if you have questions or issues, we can help you with that. But this does expire as of 11:59 p.m. tonight. So the clock is ticking, but we have until 11:59 p.m. Pacific time, I should imagine. Okay, so here's what you're going to get. This is a set. You get 17 videos that teach you the 7-stage universal persuasion protocol. This is a 6-step formula, 3 of which you've just learned, by the way. You've learned 3 of those steps. Natalia says, help me land my dream job. Excellent. And what we're going to do is we're going to teach you how to think like a master of influence. Professional persuaders, agents of change and transformation. They think differently. They look at the world through a different set of lenses. We're going to teach you how that works so you can apply it to your life and move through the world naturally wielding more influence as a byproduct of the training. Okay. If you're tired of being at effect in your life, if you want to be more of the causal agent, be more in control of your destiny, it starts with how you think about the world around you and the people in it. Okay. So we're going to teach you 3 aspects. One is called the I identity model, which is all about you. I2, which is all about personality profiling and behavioral profiling. And I3 is all about influence. You're going to learn all about these things and why they matter. It's a $297 value, and we're going to share that with you right from the get-go. We're going to teach you the keys to controlling your psycho-emotional state at will and on demand so no one else can do it to you without your permission ever again. This is all about learning how to be in control of the most important person in the world to you. That's you. We divide state control training into two modules. One is called physiological state control, what you do with your body, and then volitional or willpower-based state control or cognitive state control, which is what you do with your mind. And you have to learn the physiology first before you can effectively use the psychology, right? And this is, again, one of the most important modules, because without the ability to control your state, you are at the mercy of your environment. You're at the whim or mercy of anybody who knows how to get under your skin. And you have apps, and you're at the mercy of whatever rapport and connection that you generate. But if you understand how to enter and exit any psycho-emotional state at will, nobody can knock you off your game for more than a second ever again, and you'll get back to it instantly. This is worth its weight in gold. We should be charging $2,997 just for that, because it's so important. We are the only people teaching this level of state control at this level. So if you want to get a leg up, this is going to do it for you. It's a $297 value, but we're not going to stop there. We're also going to teach you some of the most powerful rapport-getting skills on the planet. Now, most people, like in NLP and things like that, they're going to teach you how to copy someone's gestures, or, and for most people, those things are like trying to walk and chew gum at the same time. They can work, but there's a lot involved. We're going to show you 3 categories of rapport, what they're useful for, how they work, and the simplest, most effective way to employ them at will, anytime, anywhere. But we're not going to stop there. We're actually going to combine your state control training with your power rapport skills so that you can literally sync up with another person's neurology, kind of like your Bluetooth syncs up with your car, and transmit feelings and emotions back and forth. So not only can you send information, you can tap into another person's body and find out what they're feeling, so you know how to deal with them and move yourself through states that allow you to influence them. And we talked about mirror neurons and how when you're in a joyful, playful state, you emanate that, and a person's mirror neurons pick them up and they go into a similar state. We're going to show you how to tap into that phenomena and make it accessible to you on demand as one of the most powerful, covert, invisible, uncatchable persuasion amplifiers on the planet. Okay, and we actually teach you how to test it. Okay, if you saw my video on YouTube called Empathic Superpowers, you actually see one of the bridging drills, one of the tests that we use, where we literally sync up with another person's nervous system, and we transmit emotions back and we actually, well, that's just the physical test. The extensions are transmitting emotions back and forth. So you see, we do this, right? We've done this through Zoom. We've done this with people across the planet with the cameras off. You'll learn how to do it too. It's a $297 value, and it amplifies everything else that came before it. Then we're going to teach you the 7 most powerful, irresistible hypnotic language patterns that exist. Let me ask you a question. I want you to use your imagination for a moment. Imagine what your life could be like if you had 7 superpowers on top of what I just talked about. 7 discrete superpowers. The ability to make anything you want seem to cause anything you want in the minds of your subjects. What could you do with a power like that? Even if those things have absolutely nothing in common, you could make anything you point out cause something else in their mind, right? What if you had the power to make anything you want mean anything you want in the minds of your subject, even if those things had absolutely nothing to do with each other? In other words, you can make anything you want mean anything, right? That's superpower number 2. Superpower number 3, what if you had the ability to powerfully and directly influence a person's focus of awareness and cause their mind to pay attention only to the things you wanted them to pay attention to the exclusion of everything else? And on top of that, trigger their subconscious mind to automatically run any program you can describe. What could you do with a power like that, right? That's superpower 3 and 4. But it's one pattern that does it, okay? What if you had the ability to force a person's internal mind movies without coercion, without force, without deceit, to be exactly what you describe in an absolutely compelling way with 0 chance of being misunderstood or misinterpreted? What would that do for your ability to get what you want? Imagine it for a moment. Okay. That's just part of what you're going to be learning in the hypnotic language patterns module. Okay. When you're typing exactly the same, Jacob, you get it to work exactly the same way in typing that you do in speaking. It's any place where language is involved, and it doesn't even have to be English. Most of these patterns work. Okay. It's that powerful and it's that universal. But it's a great question. Thank you for asking that. It's a $297 value, as you can see just from how I've described it. And I'm under describing what these things can do, just so you know. It's worth way more than $297. I'm going to teach you, once you've done all that, how to manage the emotional states of others, how to tap into their emotions, figure out where they're at, decide for yourself where you want them to be, and systematically move them through processes that result in them becoming into the emotional state that you need them to be in, so they'll do what you want them to do because it's their own idea to do it, right? It's a $297 value. We're going to teach you how to tap into and utilize somebody's own personal behavior code. How many of you remember a movie called Star Trek: The Wrath of Khan? You guys remember that? Okay. It's an old movie. All right. But in that movie, Kirk and Khan are faced off, and Khan has completely decimated the Enterprise. And so Kirk pulls a trick. He has Spock secretly access what he calls the prefix code. It's an anti-hijack device installed in every starship that allows the good guys to take over the bad guy's ship and make it do what you want. Every human being has a prefix code for every behavior that they engage in. And it's hidden in the structure of their words. I'm going to teach you in no uncertain terms how to identify that code and feed it back to people so that they automatically do what you want them to do. And they'll love you for it. And they'll think it's their idea. Would that be useful? Type in the chat if you think that's useful. Are you in trance? There we go. Okay, we've got some people. I think you're in trance. It's okay. So then we're going to teach you a little bit. We'll go even deeper into what we've talked about today. how to emotionally bond anyone's deepest desires to get them to do what you want them to do. You felt a tiny bit of it today, right? We're going to go even deeper. It's a $297 value, but as you can see, it can change your whole life. We're also going to include a 240-page Killer Influence Mind Control Manifesto. This is the actual manual that we use in our live Killer Influence trainings, and it has not only the 7 stages of the Universal Persuasion Protocol, it has modules on advanced proxemic hypnotic operators, social hypnotic operators, how to detect lies, how to use meta programs. These are all different aspects of the human nervous system that can be delivered in normal everyday conversations and interactions that are impossible to detect, and it amplifies everything we've talked about even more. Proxemic hypnotic operators are the ability to manage the spatial orientations or relationships between you and other people. Simple things that you wouldn't even think about that don't rely on language. For example, standing on somebody's dominant side will cause them to like you more than if you stand on their non-dominant side. Sitting at the head of a table will cause you to be given more authority than if you sit in the middle of the table or on a diagonal to the table. These are things that have nothing to do with language, but are powerful amplifiers to your ability to exude and exert more authority and rapport and connection with the people around you, and you can't get caught. Right? So the entire manual is just chock full of some of the most powerful persuasion and influence modifiers and amplifiers on the planet. Okay. It's a $418 value. We're going to include this for you absolutely free. You're also going to get access, we'll talk about this very shortly, to an online community with more than 210 active members. Okay. So think about what I've talked about and realize we're not even close to done. Total value would be $2,497. But as you can probably guess, because I like to give a lot of stuff away, we're going to include, if you grab your course right now today, we're going to include these special bonuses. First one is called Weapons of Mass Instruction. One of the most powerful global influences of our tools of mass influence on the planet is the art and science of story and metaphor. For many years, I would hear over and over and over again that stories were the most powerful persuasion tool on the planet. And every time I would go to a class on storytelling, all I would get would be things like the hero's journey or confusing Ericksonian metaphors. And I realized that if I was going to learn how to fully tap into the power of storytelling and metaphor, I was going to have to create it. And so I did. And I went in a very different place. I looked at what the corporations were doing. I looked at what the neuroscience and the social psychologies studies were doing with regard to persuasion and influence. And I condensed it all into 6 modules that comprise one of the most powerful trainings on how to use story to influence people to do what you want them to do anytime, anywhere, under any circumstances. So let me give you just a brief rundown of the modules. The first one we're going to talk about is the neuroscience of storytelling. How stories affect us on a neurological level, why they work, and why you want to be using them, right? We're going to talk about stories for connection. One of the most powerful ways to connect with people is through story. So we'll give you templates that you can follow, things that you can do in a line at Starbucks, at the line at the movie theater, little short vignettes that have a hook and a we call a boomerang, that just allow people to bond very, very quickly. And they're usually humorous little anecdotes, but this is one of the most powerful ice-breaking tools. And if you use it in conjunction with a 3 magic questions protocol, it's just off the charts powerful. Then we're going to talk about alpha stories. Now, alpha stories are the types of stories that most of us are familiar with. If you've ever gone to a motivational speaker, or you've read Chicken Soup for the Soul, or a corporate retreat, and they're doing all these things to motivate and inspire you and get you to rush to do something, to get out and sell more or whatever. These are called alpha stories. Alpha stories are stories that have a persuasion amplification effect. They give more push to the persuasion, right? This is but there's also another kind of story. It's called an omega story. Omega stories are based on something called omega strategies. And so let me hold on a second. I accidentally muted myself. So let me kind of explain a little bit the difference between an alpha story and an omega story. So if you imagine, I have a big old filing cabinet, like right here, right? And it's loaded with like phone books or files or whatever, and I need to push this thing across the room and I'm by myself, right? Well, if I push and there's too much friction, there's too much weight, I get extra people to help me push, and now I can push the filing cabinet across the room. That's an alpha story, right? And they're very powerful and they're useful in many different contexts, everything from team building to therapy to dating to, I mean, they're very, very powerful. But there's another kind of story that doesn't work by amplifying persuasion push. They work by eliminating and reducing resistance to the ideas in the story. We call these omega stories or omega strategies. So in an alpha story or an alpha strategy, I'm going to push the filing cabinet and I'm going to get more and more people to help me push. So I'm adding more amplitude, more energy to the message. An omega story, I have myself, I have the filing cabinet, and maybe I get some rollers, or I get a dolly, or I put oil on the floor. And now because I've resolved and reduced the friction, I can now move the filing cabinet myself very, very easily because I've eliminated the resistance to the training. Omega stories work even when the person hearing the story is diametrically opposed to the theory, the principles, or the morals embedded in it. It will still soften. This is the science. It will still soften and create compromise in a person. Now, there's certain characteristics that stories have to maximize the neurological impact on a person's nervous system. There's 5 or 6 of them. We teach you step by step what those are. We give you a checklist so that you can actually test your story and rate it based on its transportability quotient, which is one of the phenomena we look for. We'll talk about identification principle, which is another way of saying self-generation bias, which we mentioned at the beginning of this webinar, to create these irresistible stories. And then finally, one of the most powerful things about story is its ability to transfer other persuasion techniques. So how many people here have ever, let me open up the chat. How many people here have ever saw the movie Terminator? Right? So the very first Terminator, you'll remember that when they traveled through time, right? When they traveled through time, they could only send human beings because only organic stuff would go through, right? So how did the machines beat that? They wrapped the machine in living skin, organic tissue. And now the machine was able to pass through the portal just like a human. Stories have the ability to insert other persuasion techniques into the minds and hearts of other people. And we call these ninja stories, right? And there's about, I think, 7 to 12 of them. Everything from embedded commands, analog marking, semantic priming, behavioral priming, nested loops. These are all things that you can embed within a powerful story that amplify, modify, and install programs into the minds of your listener. If you've ever been to a seminar with Tony Robbins, T. Harv Eker, Dr. Joe Dispenza, or any of those people, this is what they're doing to you. Okay? This is what they're doing. They're actually using stories and hypnotic constructs as a way to prime you to take certain actions and get certain behaviors, right? And I'm not going to pass judgment on that. They help a lot of people, right? Weapons of Mass Instruction is going to teach you step by step how to do exactly what they do from a storytelling perspective. It's going to teach you all of the techniques that you can embed. That's what and it's all about getting people to rush to the back of the room, to raise their hand, to either enroll in your business, become captivated by you, inspired by you, buy your book, become a client, your coaching clients, whatever. That's what this is for. Okay. It's a $1,997 value. We're going to give this to you absolutely free if you one of the next few people to grab your product before the end of the program. Okay. So once again, total combined value of everything we've talked about so far is $4,487 if you grab it now. Okay. We're also going to include, though, how many of you have ever been told no and didn't have a good answer for it? How many of you have ever had a limiting belief that's kept you from taking an action or something? Or you've had a client who had a limiting belief that stopped you dead in their tracks? What if for every objection that you encountered, every argument you were in, every limiting belief that held you back, you had 14 different ways to absolutely and utterly destroy it in seconds? What could you do with a power like that? What couldn't you do with a power like that? That's what this next bonus is all about. Renegade reframing is all about how to overcome any objection or change any belief during normal conversations in seconds. We're going to give you 14 specific patterns that when you apply them to any objection, any argument, any belief, it instantly disrupts the pattern. Remember, somebody was asking earlier, how do you disrupt a pattern and install a new suggestion? Each of these 14 patterns will do exactly that and allow you to install a new perspective on the subject that allows people and makes people want to take the actions you want them to take. This is what you use if you screw up the universal persuasion protocol. If you get the emotional bonding checklist wrong, you hit them with one of these patterns, you echo their words, and they're back on track. They're back on track. It's really, really powerful. And these patterns will, and when you apply them to yourself, you can't go back to thinking the same way about your limiting patterns ever again. We do this in our coaching classes all the time. Milana says, hey, everyone, learning these skills helped me, and I am now OMS Health Competition, which is for a veteran charity cause. Help me support. Okay. All right. Let's. I appreciate the charity there, but let's focus. Okay. Anyway, so that's what we've got. It's bonus number 2. It's a $1,997 value. And by the way, this particular training comes with a card game. It's called the Reframe game. It's in the back of the manual. You print these out, you cut them up, and you can actually play like little drinking games and stuff where somebody spits out a belief, you throw a card at them, and they got to use that reframe pattern to overcome the objection. Right? It's really, really, really good. Okay. So total value is $6,484 if you register before the end of the webinar. We have hypnotic presentation skills. Remember I talked earlier about teaching you step by step how guys like Tony Robbins and Mark Victor Hansen and T. Harv Eker and Dr. Joe do things from the stage. This is the course that pulls back all of the curtains. It will teach you 2 forms of presentation, one for small groups and one for large groups. It'll allow you to easily and naturally influence large groups of people to rush to the back of the room. We'll teach you how to hold a microphone, how to engineer a talk that subliminally primes and programs people to take the next step with you and want to do it. If for no other, the reason to get this is for no other reason is to learn what other people are doing to you so you can protect yourself from it. And it's based on having the killer influence system first and then this. It also covers how to take the content that you create and use things like YouTube or Instagram to create powerful content for your subscribers as well. So we teach you that as well. And it also reviews the Ninja module stories or Ninja story modules. Yeah. Okay. So $1,997 value. Once again, we're going to give this to you absolutely free. It's an $8,481 value when you register before the end of the webinar. So let's look at what we got, right? So you get the 17 video, 7-stage universal persuasion protocol valued at $2,497. You get the first bonus, which is weapons of mass instruction, neuroscientific storytelling secrets recorded live, plus the manual. It's a $1,997 value. You get a copy of Renegade Reframing, how to instantly overcome any objection or change any belief during normal conversation in seconds. It's a $1,997 value. And then you get the charisma and conversion hypnotic presentation skills for presenters and public speakers. It's a $1,997 value. All these come with manuals and about 20 to 30 hours of training. So there's a lot of training here. Okay. Total value, if you do the math and wanted to buy them individually, which some of these you can't, they're not actually on our website. You can only get them through this webinar. Is $8,481. But obviously, I want today, because you spent time with me and you're doing the drills and getting the skills, I want to give you the best deal humanly possible. I want you to have zero excuses for doing this. I want you to get off your butt, get in the game, and get everything you want the way you want it. So for today only, you're not going to pay $8,481. You're not even going to pay $6,481 or $5,347 or $3,347. Hell, you're not even going to pay $2,347. That's $100 less than just the regular price of the Persuasion course. For those of you who are truly ready to level up, who are ready to do the drills and get the skills, to hear more yeses, to get more of the things you told me you wanted, if you truly feel you deserve it, you can get it all for a low one-time installment of just $997. That's it. Or if you need a little extra help, you can reach out to Stephanie at 858-282-4663 or Stephanie at nlppower.com and break that up into 3 easy installments of just $397. All you got to do to get started now is go to www.killerinfluence.com/go. It's www.killerinfluence.com/go. Now, for those of you who were on our last webinar, you may have noticed something. There's an extra discount here. Our regular, last time we made this offer, it was $1,497. This is we've decided for today to give you the original webinar special, which is $997. You get all the courses I've just outlined. And if you need a little extra help, for those of you who said, hey, I need a little extra help, we can break that up into 3 easy installments of just $397. All you got to do to get yours right now is go to www.killerinfluence.com/GO. www.killerinfluence.com/GO. Go now before all the slots are gone. Right. For those of you who are maybe on the fence or like, well, this is my first time in Planet David. I haven't had a chance to really test a lot of these things out in the real world. How do I know they really work for me? Right. For everyone who grabs their course today, we're going to give you an unconditional 100% 60-day money-back guarantee. If you're not satisfied with the program, if you're not on the fast track to making more money, closing more deals, reaching your financial freedom, feeling more secure and confident, winning in social encounters, moving through the world from a much more empowered place, if you're not seeing the yeses that you want to see or hearing the yeses you want to hear, if you're not satisfied in any way, if we're not over delivering on what we're promising here, if you're not satisfied, all you got to do is pick up the phone, send us an email, and we will give you a 100% refund. You have absolutely zero risk. If this doesn't work for you, we don't want your investment. We don't want your tuition. But I know it will if you actually apply it, because it's worked for everybody who has used it. Right? Don't take my word for it. Listen to read what the people in the chats who've been using this stuff for a while have to say about it. It's a 100% satisfaction guarantee. And if it's not working for you and we can't help you get, over your sticking points, we'll refund every dime, right? So get yours now. Just go to www.killerinfluence.com/go. Go right now. www.killerinfluence.com/GO. Remember, he who hesitates is lost, as they say, right? There's a more earthy cliche I used to use, but I don't want to offend anybody. But the late Ed Parker used to say, he who hesitates meditates in a horizontal position. Right? So go right now. Get your course. Let's get on the fast track to becoming masters of persuasion and influence. Let me guide you step by step through the art and science of human influence so that the one word you never hear unless you want to is no. Right? So if you haven't given up, click that link right now, www.killerinfluence.com/go. Now, if this wasn't amazing enough already, if I haven't titillated you enough, one of the things that I've found in people is that the people who take actions get the gold. The people who get to something first often get the most. I've also learned from my behavioral studies that the behavior that gets rewarded gets repeated. The behavior that gets repeated gets reinforced. And I want you to get on the fast track to doing the behaviors that lead to success. So For you fast action takers, if you grab your course before tonight, June 8th, 2023 at 11:59 p.m., we're going to give you the following special fast action bonuses. First and foremost, we're going to give you a 3-month trial membership to the NLP Power Mastermind Mentoring Program. This is a hands-on live virtual training that we do on the third Saturday of every month. You literally come in at 11 a.m. on Saturday, and I go around the chats and I say, hey, what do you want to learn today? 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 And I write them on the board. I look at where they all connect. And for the next 4.5 to 6 hours, I drill the entire group on those exact skills until they can do them in their sleep. You will not get a certificate from the NLP Power Mastermind Mentoring Program. What you will get is the opportunity to get hands-on training, real-world feedback, and work with tons of like-minded people just like you who only want to get better and be able to talk to people about this stuff without people looking at them like they're witches or warlocks or whatever. Okay. It's a really, really special place. And we cover everything from energetics to influence to attraction to marketing to spirituality, therapy, trauma resolution, you name it, we talk about it. If it involves mind energy or mind-body energies, we do it. Now, the best part about this, aside from the hands-on training and being part of a community of hundreds of people all wanting to work and get better, is we've run this program for 11 years straight. We started in October of 2010. We have video recorded every single session of those monthly meetings since 2010. As a charter member of the NLP Power Mastermind Mentoring Program, you will have an unlimited access to the entire 11-year archive. Video footage on everything from energy to influence to therapy to trauma resolution to manifestation, accelerated learning, dating and attraction, law of attraction, psychic skills, you name it. Okay. Stuff that's never been seen on YouTube, never been seen on Facebook. You can binge watch it for the entire 3 months that you're in the program. And if at the end of 3 months you decide you love it, which most people do, we'll show you how to continue your membership. Okay. It's a $1,597 value. We're going to give this to you absolutely free, just for being one of the first people to raise their hand and grab your program before the bonuses go away. Now, these fast action bonuses are only good while I'm physically present on the webinar. So when I log off, right, these bonuses go away. The other stuff is available until 11:59 p.m. tonight, but these fast action bonuses, they go away when I log off. So if you want to be part of the party, grab your course now, right? We're also going to include, for those of you who want to get started right now, we're going to give you a bonus copy of our Stealth Instant Conversational Hypnosis Crash Course. Now, Stealth is an acronym. It stands for Strategic Suggestion Through Emotionally Amplified Linguistically Transmitted Hypnosis. This is one of the fastest Learn It Now, Hypnotize People Tomorrow programs we've ever put out. It comes with a ton of free bonus videos on instant inductions, the most powerful language patterns that exist, lie detection, criterion values elicitation. It has manuals, it has transcripts, it has PowerPoints. We're going to give this to you free. You only need to watch 2 videos, or about 45 minutes each, and you'll be able to use these hypnotic language patterns instantly out in the real world. There's another 2-hour video. We'll teach you 5 or 6 instant inductions. If you want to go out and start hypnotizing people overtly, we'll show you how to do that. They're all included as part of this training program. It's a $997 value. We're going to give this to you absolutely free for raising your hand and saying, hey, I want more from life. I want to get started right now. Total combined value is $11,075, but we're not done yet. Hold on to your hats, because for the first 21 people to register today, I am going to include a free VIP ticket to our next Killer Influence 2023 Secrets of Covert Hypnosis 5-day Hypnotic Persuasion Certification Boot Camp. It's going to be here in San Diego, June 20th through the 24th. In that, you will cover every single thing that we've talked about in the persuasion protocols. You'll learn how to instantly and rapidly connect with other human beings, how to think like a master of influence. You learn the 7 most powerful language patterns that exist. Control your psycho-emotional state so nobody else can do it ever again. Transmit your body feelings and your emotions into other people so it primes them to think the way you want them to think, and then close that circuit with your language so everything wells up inside of them like it's their own idea. How to emotionally bond people to your product or service. How to break the ice in normal conversation and go from stranger to intimacy in as little as 20 minutes. How to remove resistance to any form of persuasion or any task you want somebody to do, even if they told you they didn't want to do it. We're going to teach you about proxemic hypnotic operators, how to use the spatial relationships between yourself and others to maximize your impact on them. How to use meta programs. These are context-free filters that people have in their heads that come out in their speech, that if you can recognize it and match their filters, it's like that prefix code we talked about, where people will just start to think the way you want them to think and process the information in your communication the way you want them to process it. And they'll tend to do what you want by default. We'll teach you how to simple lie detection skills. There's even a course called DRT, Dirty Rotten Tricks. These are what we call gray hat persuasion tactics that you can pull out in cases where you might need a little extra mojo. We're going to talk about 90-second persuasion and behavioral profiling, how to look at somebody, how the way they're dressed, how the way they talk, their jewelry, their facial expressions and their facial markings, and create a powerful psychological profile that you can use to gain maximum influence on them in the shortest amount of time possible. There's all that and even more that we're going to cover in this 5-day event. It is a hands-on training. It is some of the most fun you can have with your clothes on. We'll talk about the four horsemen of irresistible hypnotic influence: authority, attractivity, affinity, and acquiescence. These are 4 macro categories of human influence that once you master them, people will automatically want to do what you ask them to do. They'll feel compelled to do it, and they'll want to please you because of it. If you want to learn how to manage attraction and generate attraction in other people, be perceived as attractive, we're going to show you how to do that. That's all part of this training, on top of the 7 most powerful language patterns that exist, and so much more. So this is a great time. This is a prerequisite for many of our more advanced teachings like vibrational influence, or the NLP classes that we teach, the certification classes that we teach. And remember, Killer Influence was named the #1 NLP training program in the world 3 years in a row. Okay? So by all means, grab your course now. It's a $3,150 value. If you try to get in at the door, it's $3,150. For those of you that are ready to level up, to be in a room with me and a bunch of highly motivated other people just like you for 5 solid days, this is yours. Grab your course right now. Total combined value for our entire program today, the Secrets of Human Influence Ultra Persuasion Home Study Course, $14,225 value. All you got to do is go to www.killerinfluence.com/go before I log off the webinar, and we'll give you the NLP Power Mastermind Mentoring Program, the Stealth Instant Conversational Hypnosis Crash Course, and that VIP super ticket to the 5-day Killer Influence Certification Bootcamp live here in San Diego. So once again, let's review Secrets of Human Influence. Hold on a second. Secrets of Human Influence Home Study Course, $2,497 value. Weapons of Mass Instruction, $1,997 value. We're going to give that to you absolutely free. Renegade Reframing, $1,997 value. We're going to give that to you free. We're going to give you Charisma and Conversion, $1,997 value. We're going to give that to you free. NLP Power Mastermind Mentoring Program, $1,597 value. We're going to give that to you for free. You're going to get the Stealth Instant Conversational Hypnosis Crash Course, $997 value. We're going to give that to you absolutely free. And to put the cherry on the sundae, to make sure you not only learn these skills, but you embody these skills, that you can do them anytime, anywhere, under any situation or circumstance, for any reason. We're going to include for you the free VIP super ticket, 5-day certification bootcamp live here in San Diego, California, June 20th to the 24th. Now, the best part about our VIP tickets is they don't expire. So let's say you grab your course today, but it's too short a notice. You can't get to San Diego on the 20th. That's fine. All you have to do is pick up the phone or send Stephanie an email. We will move you to the next Killer Influence training. Let's say you can't make the training, but you have a friend who does. You have this VIP ticket. You can gift them the VIP ticket and they can come in place of you. Not everybody's optimal choice, but hey, but let's say something happens at the last minute, like maybe you're planning on coming, something comes up at the last minute, and now you can't attend. Well, congratulations. All you got to do is pick up the phone, give Stephanie a call. We will move you to another training. You don't lose this ticket until you use this ticket. Now, let's say you're planning on not coming. It's too close to work. There's too many things going on. Maybe travel's a little too expensive. But all of a sudden, something happens at the last minute where now you've got the money, you've got the time, you can get to the training, but it's sold out. It's full. If you have one of these VIP super tickets, we will make a seat for you at the training. Nobody gets turned away. All we ask is that you let us know you're coming. Okay. If we decide to raise the price 6 months from now and you have one of these VIP tickets, you don't pay a dime extra. You don't pay anything because you have a VIP ticket. Whatever the price is, your price is guaranteed. You get to walk in for free. Okay. There are not many good, there are not a lot of deals better than that. All you got to do to get yours right now, and I really recommend that you do, is go to www.killerinfluence.com/go. www.killerinfluence.com/go right now. www.killerinfluence.com/go. So while you're doing that, remember, you get it all for one low investment of $997. Do the math, $997 or 3 easy installments of just $397, right? If you tried to buy all this individually, it would cost you, pardon me my French, out the butt for that. $14,225 value, yours for just $997. Break it up into 3 installments. Just let Stephanie know you need a payment plan, and we'll take care of you. Stephanie is our administrative goddess. Holly is her close second. Brandon and Henry are in the background. Seth is out there somewhere. So they're all helping you in any way that they can. I do recommend that if you do call Stephanie at 858-282-4663, that if you get her voicemail, you leave a message. Because if you leave a message and contact information, then you will qualify for bonuses. If you do not leave a contact information and you call the next day, you will not qualify for any bonuses. So if you call, keep in mind that the lines will be busy. Okay. Leave a message. We will get back to you within 24 hours, if not sooner, to get you taken care of. If you buy your product right now and you have a question about how to access it, pick up the phone, give Stephanie a call or send her an email. We'll walk you through the process of getting access to your account. You can start downloading and streaming and viewing that stuff right now. All you got to do is go to www.killerinfluence.com/go. www.killerinfluence.com/go. Now, we're going to take a 7-minute intermission while I use the restroom. When I come back, we are going to pick up where we left off. We're going to start building on the foundations we laid in the first part of our webinar, and we're going to continue to teach for another half hour, 45 minutes, whatever it is, so that we give you more stuff. Now, the other thing that I want you to understand, some people mentioned I have a course. If you are a customer of Planet David and you have one or more of the products listed in this bonus package, we will let you substitute other programs of an equal or lesser value. So let's say you have weapons of mass instruction. Well, that's okay. Go into our catalog, find another course that has the same price or lower. Let Stephanie know. We'll swap it out for you. We'll let you customize the package as long as the prices are the same, because that messes with our bookkeeping. Okay. All you got to do to get that ball rolling is go to www.killerinfluence.com/go. That's http://www.killerinfluence.com/go. I know the links are in there, but I just wanted to feel like I actually am doing something to help promote. So I'm going to go ahead and take a 7-minute break. We're going to come back at 6:03. And we're going to circle back and we're going to continue to teach. And we're going to customize the remainder of this webinar to exactly the things you want to know about, exactly the things you want to learn about. We'll help you troubleshoot some stuff. It's our playtime. Okay. Click this link. I'll see you in 7 minutes. www.killerinfluence.com/go. We'll see you in a little bit. So I got done with my break a little early. I know some of you are still on break or processing your orders with Stephanie, and that's fine. But if you have any questions pertaining to what we've covered so far, or about the package, or about the training, when would now be a good time to type your questions in the chat? Okay. Apparently my link was not correct. Mike says, are we coming back to Dallas? It's entirely possible. The face reading class was a huge success. I literally taught 10 days worth of material in 3. So you guys, congratulations on how rapidly you assimilated a lot of that. But yeah, but probably not till sometime in 2024 if we come back. What else you got? Any other questions? Antron saying, normally see your webinar on YouTube, but I did not get a notification. That is true. First of all, we were late in getting the notifications out to the YouTube channel. The other thing is we were having some technical issues with regards to our streaming software and specifically how it was cooperating with the cameras. And so I made a executive decision not to risk crashing the whole webinar so I could stream to YouTube. We'll be working on getting the bugs out next week, so that next time we do a webinar, we'll also be streaming once again to YouTube. What I may do is, if the video from this particular webinar is good, I'll post the replay on the YouTube channel, but I'll do it as a premiere, and I'll actually be live in the chat during the webinar. So if people have questions, I can answer them. I have another event to do tomorrow, so I'm not sure if I'll be able to do it today or wait till the weekend to do it. So, but that's kind of what happened. All right. So here's my question for you guys. What do you want to learn next? What do you want to know about? This is again, I've shown you what to do to level up your skills. Now let's troubleshoot. Let's build on the foundations. Let me do this really quick. Let's build on the foundations that we laid at the beginning of the webinar. What do you want to be able to do? Do I feel like AI will dominate the copywriting arena? Yes and no. I think as AI gets smarter, it'll become more human, which is terrifying in and of itself. But no, I don't think AI will fully ever replace human copywriters for a very long time, if at all. Now, if you have no talent or understanding of human beings, then AI is probably the way to go if you're not willing to hire somebody who actually knows how to write good copy. But in terms of getting deep psychological input into what people's triggers are and how to really reach inside them, I think you're going to need a human for that for a very long time. I really do. Right. Omar wants to know how to lead an interaction. So Omar, tell me what that means to you when you talk about how to lead an interaction. Give me a context or give me an example. How to better tee up ideas. Natalia, what does that mean, sweetie? Here's the secret. The better the question, the better the seminar, right? I love to answer questions, but the more I know about what you want, and there's 3 areas that people normally want to cover. Let me just kind of prime the pump a little bit, and I'll answer whatever questions you want. Remember, today's class is about influence. So a lot of people usually want to know more about the emotional bonding checklist. Sometimes they want to know how to remove resistance to persuasion. Sometimes people want to know how to generate intense emotional connections bordering on love and attraction. So those 3 are on the table. Persuasion, how to get buy-in, partial buy-in before the idea. Okay, persuasion is not my forte. Can we talk about something I teach? Although they are good books, by the way. And there's a lot of stuff that overlaps. It's just not my focus. Okay, so Omar's saying, so let's say I approach an individual, a potential customer, someone I'm interested in dating. Usually it feels like I'm just throwing conversational dice before I get too close to ask for the date. Okay, so remember that when we talk, let me go back to, let me reshare something. So if we're talking about attraction, then what we want to begin to do is we want to generate a sequence of states. Okay, so let me go to, where is it? Okay. All right. So Omar's question was about attraction. So let's talk about 3 magic questions and how that relates. 3 magic questions is all about how to make people like, trust, and even love you in as little as 20 minutes or less. Now, 3 magic questions is a conversational framework that allows 2 or more people who are strangers to rapidly generate a pleasurable, stimulating conversation that triggers deep levels of emotional attraction, trust, and bonding. To use the 3 magic questions, we're going to use the master echo sequence. I'm going to make this just a little bit smaller so it fits on the screen. Okay, so we always use the master echo sequence. What's the master echo sequence? You ask a question, you pay attention, you validate, you echo, ask again. Now, because this is about attraction, now let's talk about this really quickly. 3 magic questions was originally designed for women to use with men to do 2 things simultaneously. First was to trigger attraction. Second, it was to trigger enhanced self-disclosure for the purpose of gathering information about the person so the woman could make an informed decision about whether this person was a fit for her or a hell no, or something in between, right? When I got my hands on this protocol, I modified it so it could be used by either gender. When some of my students got a hold of it, they modified it so it could be used in business, in depositions, jury selection, therapy, client relationships. There is no place that this, even though we're talking about attraction context, there is no place that this protocol doesn't work. So I want to be very, very clear, unless we, people say, oh, we're talking about attraction. I got to make sales. This will, if you do this at a networking function, people will be calling you all hours of the day and night because you'll be the most fascinating person they've ever met. They'll have never met anyone like you. And it won't be a mystery when to ask for the date or when to ask for the meeting or whatever. Okay. Does that make sense? If you're with me so far, type it in the chat. Okay. Cool. All right. So remember that this protocol uses the echo technique. So get really good at the echo technique and then integrate it into this. Now, 3 magic questions is a code. It's a code that stands for 3 levels of question. Okay. So the first level of question is called location occasion. What is location occasion about? It's when we do location occasion, we're always asking, Jesus, this is really big. We're asking superficial questions about the venue or the subject's reason for being there. So when human beings are moving through the world, they can be in one of several states. They can be internally focused, means in their head making pictures or making movies or thinking about anything inside, right? This is where most of us spend most of our time. They can be externally focused. They can be out of their head paying attention to what's going on around them, right? They can be associated or they can be dissociated. What does that mean? Associated means if you ever like play a first person video game and you're seeing it like it's through your own eyes, that's an associated perspective. That's where you tend to feel things most intensely. You tend to be most present. Okay. Dissociated is like you're watching yourself on, like I'm like right now, I'm looking at the screen and I'm seeing myself on that screen. Okay. That's a dissociated perspective, right? So people are either going to move through the world either internal associated or internal dissociated, or they're going to be external dissociated or external associated. The 3 magic questions protocol has one, or the level 1 questions have one purpose only. This is important. It's to get them out of their head and into the world focused on you. The state is called external dissociation. Okay. So how do you do this? It's really simple. You ask questions that relate. Hold on a second. I see a typo. You ask questions that relate to why they're there or who they're with. So you might say, hey, I'm curious, what do you think of the drink specials here tonight? Right? Or you might say, I'm curious, if you're at like a wedding reception, what do you think of the band? What do you think of the centerpiece? Right? Right? So level 1 questions, and pretty much all the questions, are always open-ended. So when you're doing this process, you never ask a question that can be answered yes or no. Right? The moment you ask a question that can be answered yes or no, the conversation stops, especially if they're strangers. Okay? You always ask questions that require the person you're asking to give you an explanation, an opinion, or a story. I'll give you a really quick example. I just got back. The reason I've been away for a while, I've been in Australia for the last almost 3.5 weeks, right? And one of the things that happens a lot of times when you're on an airplane is you wind up sitting next to people who are bored and who just want to strike up conversations with you that you don't necessarily want to talk to. So I'm on my way home from Australia, and there's a gentleman sitting next to me who is into all things forestry. And so every now and then I just want to field test my stuff, make sure I'm still relevant. So just for the sake of it, I just hit him with the 3 magic questions pro. I asked him why he was here and what he was up to. And from there, I just kept asking questions, paying attention, validating, echoing, and asking again. He talked nonstop, almost the entire flight until he fell asleep. Right? I didn't say 10 words. He never got my name. I knew about his kids. I knew about his life. I knew how, where he worked. I almost knew how much he made. He gave it to me. Right? Why? Because I started with a superficial, non-threatening question. I asked the question. I paid attention. I validated his response. I echoed his words. I asked another question. Okay? So when you start to do this process, always try to get something that requires explanation, opinion, or story. Use the echo technique as much as you can through the entire process, and you will start to see indicators of interest, trust, and attraction being generated spontaneously very, very quickly. Okay, so we'll talk about softening. Softeners are ways to lubricate the conversation so it doesn't sound like an interrogation. So let's say, for example, let me put the big picture back up. Okay, so let's say we're talking about I'm at a wedding reception and I'm going to approach someone and say, so I'm curious, what do you think of the band? Right? I can go up to him and just say, hey, what do you think of the band? Or I could say, so I was wondering, what do you think of the band? Or I'm curious, what do you think of the centerpiece? Right? So one of the things that you want to be very, very close attention to when you're doing this out in the real world is that you soften it. A softener is basically a little phrase that you put in front of what you're about to say that basically explains to them, this is why I'm about to tell you what I'm about to tell you. Okay? So again, your level 1 questions are always superficial. They're about the venue or the subject's reason for being there, and you ask them in an open-ended way. So this is one of my favorite stories. One of my students came to one of my attraction meetups one time, and I was teaching the 3 magic questions protocol.
And he went out that night to, I think, a local sports bar or some kind of club. He walked up to a lady he thought was attractive, and he said, "Hey, I'm curious, what are the drink specials tonight?" And he did the echo, validate, echo, ask again process, and they are now married. So this is a really, really powerful process. Several years ago, I was teaching a killer influence training, and I had no less than 5 personal injury attorneys show up, one of whom became one of our top students. He took over 80 pages of notes and started using this process in jury selection and started winning 7- and 8-figure verdicts left and right. He beat Boeing, he beat General Motors, and just won these really, really powerful verdicts by making everyone on the jury panel absolutely love them, right? And there's a whole psychology behind it, but it was basically this process. Level 2 questions. Before I go on to level 2 questions, let me go back really quick and ask if you have any questions about level 1. Is there a list of softeners I can refer to? We teach them in Killer Influence. So if you've got the courses or you get the manuals, there should be a list of softeners in there. Some of the ones that you can use are "I was wondering," "I'm curious," "Let me ask you this," "Just so I understand you better." These are all really good ones. And once you understand how they work, you can make up tons of them on your own. Okay. Does that help? Yeah, the manual helps, right? In fact, there's a lot of stuff in the manual we didn't talk about because there's just too much to talk. There's too much in the manual compared to what we have time to. We just overwhelm you with everything. That the manual is worth its weight in gold. It really is. When we first created it, it was the size of an old school Yellow Pages, right? And it was mostly bullet points. So yeah. Any other questions about level 1 of 3 Magic Questions? Okay, Brad is saying, in the last couple of weeks, I've had 2 different women ask for my help. One is diagnosed depression and wants to be happy. The other has diagnosed PTSD and has been through the list of help. The first I'm giving her a referral to get from her doctor, and second says she has done so many things. She thinks she can choose things to do on her own and has several. I've told them both there's no guarantee, but they both believe it might be the answer. Advice. Okay, first and foremost, not an influence question, but Brad, if this person is so sure that they know what to do, that's a control issue, right? If this person actually knew how to fix their problem, they wouldn't be sitting in your chair, right? So I would reevaluate them as clients and then refer them out, right? Because I have a feeling you're going to have nothing but problems with that client. That's just my intuition on that. Okay. Omar says, so the idea of level 1 questions is to get them out of their heads and grab their attention. That's it. And to do it, and this is important, and to do it in a hold on a second, I muted myself. Yes, to get their attention in a non-threatening way, but to do it in a non-threatening way. Okay. Because anybody can walk up to anybody and just start asking questions. The problem that we have when we approach, first of all, how many people here, by just a show of hands, think they have some level of approach anxiety? Like walking up to somebody and talking to them is fearful in some way or causes anxiety. Okay, congratulations. You're a human being. Every human being on the planet has some level of approach anxiety. Okay, it's a normal mammalian response. The problem is nobody told you that. And so because you think you're supposed to be fearless and courageous and talking to people should be easy, that it is. No. The idea that if you feel any kind of an energetic increase, your heart rate starts to speed up, you get a little bit of sweat, keep in mind that that's just a normal response to meeting somebody you have never met before. Okay? So that's the first thing. The second thing is, remember that when you apply this process, you're the one testing them. You're the one that wants to find out if they're actually worth getting to know. And that's what this protocol was originally designed for. It was designed to teach people how to create conversations, find commonalities, and evaluate the answers a person gives you and determine where they should fit in your life. That puts you in the dominant or alpha position. Remember, the person who asks the questions in a conversation is the alpha in the conversation. The idea is to be asking the questions and letting them do the talking so that they fall in love with you in whatever context is appropriate. Okay? You don't have to worry too much about what to say, because what you need to say to them will come out of their mouth, right? But I wanted to just touch on that approach anxiety thing a little bit, because a lot of us, and I spent a lot of years, 15 years clinically, helping people deal with this. A normal human being will have some level of approach anxiety, okay? The problem is we start creating narratives around that feeling, and before you know it, what started off as a little twinge becomes this raging emotional storm because of the narrative we've assigned to it. All you have to do is reframe the feeling to mean something else, and you're going to find you approach people much more easily. The other part of approach anxiety is uncertainty. And what I mean by that is when you approach, think about this for a moment. If you could look at somebody and know in just a few seconds with a high level of confidence that they actually wanted you to come and talk to them, and you knew exactly what to say to them without tripping over your tongue or sounding stupid. Let me ask you a question. How nervous would you be about going and talking to them? Scale of 0 to 10, type it in chat. Zero to 1. Okay, very good. Anybody else? Zero is what does thumbs down mean, Edith? 0? Does that mean no? Nothing? I need a number. Trying to type 8. So you would still have an 8. So on a scale of 1 to 10, of 0 to 10, your level of nervousness would be an 8, or your level of confidence would be an 8. Even nervous. Okay. So even if you looked at them and from what you saw, you could know with a high degree of certainty that they wanted you to come talk to them, you knew exactly what to say without making a fool of yourself, you would still be an 8. And that's okay. If you are, that's fine. We'll work with it. Okay. Want to fix it? Okay. We have a webinar for that. It's not this one, but we can fix it. We'll work on it. But you can take that same process. I have a fear of acceptance. Okay. So I see we might have to fix some people today. Anybody else? Okay, let's play a game. But before we do, actually, no, we'll do this game. We'll review the offer. We'll come back. We'll talk about level 2 questions. Does that sound like a plan? Yes or yes? Okay. So once again, if you're going to do this drill, don't be driving. All right. So here's how it works. I want you to close your eyes. I'm wondering if you could imagine something for me. I'm wondering if you could imagine a place that was so positive, so nurturing, so loving, so caring, so forgiving, so protective and nurturing. Protective. A place that was so absolutely safe that no negativity of any kind could exist there for even a fraction of a second without being immediately vaporized or turned into its opposite. I'm curious. I'm wondering If you could imagine what a place like that might be like. Now, you don't need to type it in the chat, just follow along. And I always wonder when I guide people through processes like this, what might that experience be like when you're in that place? What might you see? What might you hear? What might you smell? What might you taste? Because when you do that, when you're in that place, and you see what you see, and you hear what you hear, and you smell and you taste what you smell and you taste, there's an amazing, wonderful feeling that you get. A feeling that lets you know you're truly safe. And I'd like you to notice and become aware that there's a place in your body where those amazing feelings start, where they grow and where they spread from. Take a moment, point to where you feel it. As you point to where you feel it, look at it with your inner eyes and notice there's a color, maybe even a series of colors connected to those amazing feelings. I'm curious what color or colors that might be for you, first impression. Now, you don't need to tell me, just experience that for yourself. And when you know you've got it, imagine a brilliant ball of that energy floating above your head. Notice how the feelings in your body shift and changes with every breath you take and every beat of your heart. That ball of energy begins to grow, begins to expand, begins to fill the entire room from floor to ceiling, from wall to wall, and all points in between. Notice how it wraps itself around you like an amazing blanket of safety. A cocoon, a shield, a suit of armor, insulating you, protecting you from all threats, all dangers, real or imagined. While at the same time flooding your mind, flooding your body, flooding your spirit with everything it most wants, everything it most needs, in an infinite, ever-expanding, and unlimited supply. And when you know you've got that, I want you to breathe those amazing colors through your entire being. Let it fill you up like water fills up a bottle, like fluid fills up a test tube, like hot air or helium fills up a balloon. Anchor it in so fully, so completely, no force in the universe can turn it off, take it away, not even you. Take all the time you need in the next few moments to test that. And when you're certain it's locked in, type in the chat how you feel now. Natalia says, remarkably good. Crystal says, lighter. Jim says, great. Excellent. I feel shimmering inside of me. Edith says, peaceful. Here's the best part. The more you practice that simple technique, the more you'll move through the world. Melissa says, sweaty. That's normal, by the way. That means you're clearing stuff. Okay. The more you do this exercise, the more you'll move through the world feeling safe and radiating safety out into the world. Okay. This is called resolution frequency generator. Okay. This is something, again, we teach this, and we'll teach variations of this in Killer Influence, Identity by Design, things of that nature. It's a way of understanding how to take control of your nervous system. So if you see somebody that looks interesting, the first thing you want to do, find a bathroom stall somewhere out of sight, strike a power pose, breathe that safe energy through your body. Think about approaching them. Notice any place in your body where feelings start. Breathe the safe energy again and dissolve it. Okay. In other classes and other trainings, like how to reprogram subconscious mind or hidden laws of attraction, we'll show you how to decimate the reasons behind those feelings. But we don't need to go into that. We don't need to do all that to fix stuff in the moment. Right. But the more you do this, the more, once again, your brain will build the power of this and become more neuroplastic. Was this useful? Jessica says warm inside. Was this helpful? Okay. All right. So, just again to remind you that this is part of the training that we give all of our Killer Influence students and things of that nature, learning how to control your state, right? So one of the things I want to remind you is that these fast action bonuses, they go away when I log off the webinar. So just as a reminder, what you're going to get is the Secrets of Human Influence home study course. It's a $2,497 value. We'll also include the weapons of mass instruction. That's a $1,997 value. We're going to give that to you absolutely free. The Renegade Reframing, the Art of Conversational Belief Change is a $1,997 value. We're going to give that to you free. We're going to give you Charisma and Conversion. This is an amazing course. Teaches you how all the high-level speakers have people stampeding to the back of the room to sign up for coaching, buy books, buy products or services, more trainings, things of that nature. It's a $1,997 value. We're going to give it to you free. If you're one of the first 21 people to register for this package before I log off the webinar, we're going to give you a 3-month trial membership to the NLP Power Mastermind Mentoring Program. It's a $1,597 value. We're going to give it to you free. We're also going to include the Stealth Instant Conversational Hypnosis Crash Course, valued at $997. We're going to give that to you free. We're going to give you the Killer Influence VIP Super Ticket, a 5-day live certification boot camp here in San Diego, California. It's a $3,150 value. We're going to give this to you for free. It's going to be June 20th to the 24th, 2023 here in San Diego. And if for some reason you can't make that training, the next Killer Influence we schedule, we'll put you on the guest list and you can attend that one for free. Total package value, if you grabbed it today, is $14,225. But you can get it all for one low installment today of $997 or 3 easy installments of just $397 each. So for those of you who are ready, who want more of the good safety training that we just did and a lot more, all you need to do is go to www.killerinfluence.com/go. Click the link right now and go to www.killerinfluence.com. Click the link, www.killerinfluence.com/go-hi, I think is what they have in the training there. Okay. So moving back to participants, and Jessica says it was useful. Yes, it is. This is a really important thing. So let's talk about level 2 questions now. Okay. I got to change my screen again. So when we look at level 2 questions, right? Once again, everything we do at level 2 questions is using the echo technique. But now what we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about career, pleasure, and passion. Now, the original version of this, when we did it, and again, we're going through a basic version here. In Killer Influence, we go through 2 or 3 more levels of this, making it even more powerful. But for today's training, this is good enough to get you started. If you want deeper training, grab your package and start training this material at home. But level 2, the original level 2 question was only about career. And we modified it a little bit because sometimes you're going to see someone that you're interested in who doesn't like their job. Right. And so one of the things that happens with level 2 questions is we are tapping into the same hierarchy of body feelings that we tap into during the emotional motivation checklist. How many people here remember the emotional motivation checklist, the what's important about questions? Do you guys remember that? Yes or yes? Okay. So when we start hitting level 2 questions, we're tapping into the same reservoir that we're doing in the emotional motivation checklist. And the way we do this is through a process called identity or identification. Human beings can't talk about themselves, even if they're talking bad crap, like they're talking about how their life sucks. They can't talk about themselves without feeling good. That's what's funny about this, right? But a lot of times when you talk to people about their job, they don't like their job. You don't want people feeling crappy looking at you. So we modified it a little bit. So people always have a lot of people have an idea for a book or a business. They have things that they're passionate about. They're things that they do for pleasure. They do for fun. What you want to do at level 2 questions is ask open-ended questions about one or more of these topics. What do they love about their job? What do they find most challenging? Where do they see themselves in 5 years? A lot of times what I'll tell people is, like, I'll say things like, I'll ask somebody, because I'm curious, just so I understand you better. What do you do for a living? that pays the bills. And they'll go, well, I'm an accountant. Oh, wow. And I'm curious, just so I understand, are you doing it because it pays the bills, or because it's what makes your heart go pitter patter? Now, nobody's ever asked them that before, right? So you want to ask interesting questions that aren't like cookie cutter, but you want to start off with the basic idea. So I'm curious. Let me ask you this. What's important? What's fun about being an accountant? What do you love about it? Right? And they're going to give you a story. Or you might say something, wow, I know there's a lot of people who are drawn to accounting. Now, I've had a math allergy since I was 12. So I'm always curious how people come to the occupations they choose. So I'm curious, what's your origin story? How did you decide to become an accountant? Did you wake up one day and say, numbers are my game? Or were your parents accountants and you wanted to follow? I'm curious, just, what's behind that, right? And be genuinely curious about people, right? And what will happen is they will tell you their story. And the best part is, all the emotions, all the joys and the victories and everything that's incumbent in that story will be linked to you. And all the while, they're giving you their attitudes, their perceptions, their way that they see themselves, their sense of possibility, their sense of limitation. All these things are coming out in the things that they say to you. And you're, as a good little influence persuasion master, are taking notes. Yes, no, yes, no. This is what they said. This is what I interpret it as, right? And so the longer they talk, the more connected to you they become, right? And all you have to do when you talk to them is use their words, okay? And they'll continue to talk, and they'll continue to feel good about you, right? So careers, passions, pleasures are the super glue. Now, most people, you never need to go beyond level 2 questions to get a powerful relationship. In fact, you should only ever go to level 3 questions if you've come to the decision that they are somebody you want to be a permanent part of your life, an intimate friend, in whatever context intimacy is appropriate. Okay. And the reason for this is because if you do this with the wrong people in the wrong context, and you go to level 3 question, you will have a stalker on your hands. Okay. For most types of relationships, it's never necessary to go beyond level 2. Okay. So what will happen in level 2 questions is you'll ask a question, you'll pay attention, you'll validate their response, you'll echo their words, you'll ask them the question, they'll start telling stories. As you're listening to their response, your brain is going to do what we call a transderivational search. A transderivational search is your brain's search for meaning. In other words, when you hear a story about a great vacation the person in front of you said, let's say they talk about they went to Hawaii and how they loved it. The first thing that happens when those words hit your brain is the brain goes, vacations, Hawaii, tropical vacation, or what have I done that's close? And maybe you took a vacation to Fiji or the Bahamas, or maybe you didn't get to a tropical location, you went to Europe, right? Your neurology is going to search through its memory banks and find the closest analogy to what the person is describing. This phenomena is a natural part of human communication. In my world, and in this particular technique, we call it analog matching. And you'll see it every time somebody's on a first date. Person tells a story, the other person waits patiently for the person to finish talking so they can tell their story. And so you stand there and you start swapping stories, right? That's an organic process that's going to happen. The way you hack this is when you prime them to tell their story, you pay attention to the words they use. And when they're done telling their story, you tell your story briefly, but when you do, you use their words in your story as many times as you can. And what will happen is it will take something that's somewhat similar and make it do this. It will bond them to you on a deeper level. It will create that same sense of they're just like me, because they can relate to you more profoundly. It takes away the mistranslation. It takes away the distancing filters that keep you from connecting even more fully. Okay. So once again, we'll cover this far more in depth in the live training, because you'll actually get to practice it with lots and lots of different people in lots and lots of contexts, from everything from job interviews to speed dating to sales presentations to networking functions. We role play all of it. Right? Because again, it's one thing to see it on a webinar. It's one thing to watch it on a video. It's a very different thing to go through it and live it live. Okay. Questions about level 2 questions. Going once. Going twice. Is this useful? Natalia says yes. Crystal says yes. Okay, so ladies especially, but guys too, but ladies especially. Remember, if you're using this to vet potential dates or romantic partners, there's 2 fundamental aspects to this. The first one is the attraction generation aspect of it. It's very, very easy. Very, very easy to seduce yourself into a relationship that's not good for you. Okay? Why? Because when you start generating and start utilizing 3 magic questions, you're going to generate connection. And rapport is a 2-way street. That's why when we teach you the CPI model, the Universal Persuasion Protocol, it starts with know your outcome, control your state, get rapport, use your language. Why does state control have to come first? Because you are going to learn how to generate very, very, very powerful states of rapport, chemistry, and connection with another human being. And if you don't, and rapport is a 2-way street, it flows both ways. If you don't know how to control your state, you will fall victim to the very connection you're supposed to be controlling. So you have to have that hands-on training to really master this process. If there was a Jedi skill in Planet David, it would be the state control, right? Because you can put the whammy on an entire room and not even open your mouth. 80% of your influence is done before the words come out. And that's just one piece of the state control training, right? And it's one of the things that we don't give out to the public beyond a few morsels here and there, because it is one of our trade secrets. Okay. But the reason I say this, ladies, is the second part of 3 magic questions is to elicit information. It's to extract data about the person in front of you so you can profile them. So you can make a decision. Is this person a fit for me or isn't it? And you need to be able to make a qualified decision based on the data. And if you're at the mercy of rapport, what's going to happen is you're going to give people the benefit of the doubt that you shouldn't. Okay? From this point forward, whether you're a man or a woman, regardless of what your gender preference is as a romantic partner, you no longer date people with potential. Potential is off the books. You now actively seek to date people who are a fit for you, who are actively maximizing and actualizing their potential, right? If you're looking at somebody from across the table and you're going, oh man, with just a few tweaks, he could be amazing or she could be awesome. Get out. Assume the person in front of you is not going to change. Can you be happy with this person for the next 20 years as they are? Right? If the answer is no, take your time, slow down, evaluate. Okay. Again, we'll cover all this in the live event, but for those of you who want to use this, understand that there's 2 aspects to 3 magic questions. There's the attraction and connection generation and the testing, the evaluation part of it, the analysis part of it. If you're having any doubts at level 2, by no means should you go to level 3, right? And he must be willing to make the hard decision. If the person's not passing your test, if they're not matching your checklists, eject, right? They're better fit for somebody else. So the good and bad news is for those of you men or women who use this, you're going to be generating more attraction in more people than you've ever done before. The suck part is you're going to be saying no to more of them because they don't fit. They're not a fit for you, right? So I promise you that's what I teach you how to do. So that's what I'm doing. Omar is asking, so when we're swapping stories, can we echo their words and energy back into them using our own story? Yes, that's exactly what I described. We're using our story, but we're replacing the words in our story with their words. So if a person says, it was the most magnificent vacation I've ever had, and I'm telling my story, and I get to a point where it's appropriate, I'll say, and it was the most magnificent vacation I've ever had. I've used their word. That bonds our stories together and makes them the same story, functionally. Right? It's almost like we did it together. Okay. Does this make sense? Is it useful? What if their words are not authentic to you? What does that mean, Natalia? When you say, Omar says great stuff. When you say, what if their words are not authentic to you? What does that mean? You just give me the thumbs up there. I don't talk like them or I'm not in agreement. Okay, first of all, what's your outcome? If they're doing things that aren't in harmony with you, that should be a flag right there. When we're using the echo technique, the secret to making it work is to talk like them as much as possible. Okay. Remember, you're going to feel different because the words that you're using aren't yours. It's not about you yet. It's about the other person. If the idea behind 3 Magic Questions is to use their words to neurologically trigger them to talk to you, so you can evaluate if their character, their behavior, their values, and the way they satisfy those values is a fit. Do the activities that they like match what you like to do? That's the only reason to do this protocol initially. When you start using their words back to them, you're also going to start to generate attraction and increased self-disclosure in these people. It will not feel 100% authentic to you because you're not using your organic way of speaking. You're using a technique that allows them to feel all of the feelings they've ever wanted to feel with another human being and link those powerful feelings, the positive feelings in them, to you. Then you make the decision. Are they a keeper? Are they a friend? Are they an intimate friend? Are they a friend with benefits? Are they a boyfriend, a fiance, a girlfriend, whatever? There's a whole continuum of levels from hell no to hell yeah that you can sort people into. But you have to understand this process and be willing to commit to the process in a fun, playful way to maximize it. Okay. Remember, just like with anything with echo, because you're using another person's words, it'll always feel like you're doing something weird at first, till you realize that what you're giving them is the gift of being felt, understood, connected, and validated, which is what every human being on the planet wants and will fight tooth and nail to keep. This will work like gangbusters in networking functions. It'll work over the phone. It'll work pretty much any place. It doesn't have to be a romantic context at all. Right? My personal injury attorneys, when they're interviewing clients, they use it during depositions and jury selection, of all things. And the entire jury panel falls in love with them. So it doesn't matter who gets put on the jury and who doesn't. They all love the guy. Right? Anybody? Great question, though. Great question. But again, you notice I have to, I always ask, I seek clarification and understanding before I respond, because I don't know where she was going with the whole authentic thing. Remember that when you're using any variation on the echo technique, and especially if you're just starting, it's going to feel conspicuous. You're going to be self-conscious about it because it's not your normal organic way of speaking. It doesn't matter. It's not about you. It's about giving the other person the experience they want and need to have, so they'll be the person you want them and need them to be. Does that make sense? Okay. So any other questions about level 2 question? Again, we'll cover this far more in depth during the Killer Influence training, both the video and the live event. But that's a pretty good treatment right there. Now let's suppose, let's just review really quickly. I make it a point of just reminding people that the clock is running on these offers. So I just want you to make sure that you take you get the opportunity and you don't miss out for this. So okay. So once again, this is our package. It's the Secrets of Human Influence home study course. It's a $2,497 value. And it comes with the manuals and everything else. Weapons of Mass Instruction, a $1,997 value. We're going to give that to you absolutely free. The Renegade Reframing, Changing Conversations, Our Beliefs in Normal Conversations home study course with the card game is $1,997 value. We're going to give that to you free. We're going to give you the Charisma and Conversion, $1,997 value for free. The NLP Mastermind Mentoring Program and the 11-year video archive, $1,597 value. We're going to give it to you for free. The Stealth Instant Conversational Hypnosis Crash Course, $997 value. We're going to give that to you for free. And of course, you get 5 days of full immersion, no holds barred, covert hypnosis and NLP training at the Killer Influence Live Secrets of Covert Hypnosis 5-day certification boot camp here, June 20th through the 24th in San Diego, California. It's a $3,150 value. We're giving this to you absolutely free. Total package value, if you grab it right now, is $14,225. If you wait till 11:59 p.m., you're going to lose all the fast action bonuses. Have dropped down to $8,400 value. Again, for no other reason than that VIP super ticket. I'd click that link right now if I were you. Total value, $14,225. You're going to get it all for one low installment of just $997. Or if you need a little extra help, a little extra time, you can break that up into 3 easy installments of just $397. And all you got to do to get yours is go to www.killerinfluence.com/GO. www.killerinfluence.com/GO-HI. Right? I think Holly's put the link in your chat. Okay. Does anybody have any questions about the package? Remember that if you do have some of the products that are in this offer and you want to swap it out for something of equal or lesser value, you're more than welcome to do that. All you have to do is let Stephanie know, and she'll work out customizing the package and the program for you. Okay. Any other questions? Okay. If there are, just type them. What we're going to do now is we're going to go into talk about level 3 questions. Okay. So level 3 questions. Remember, there's a decision point we have to make. If you hit level 2 questions and the person is not passing your tests, stay at level 2 or eject. Stay at level 2 or eject, right? But if you decide that this person's worth a shot, then you're going to go to level 3. Level 3 creates a hypnotic phenomena in people's minds known as pseudo-orientation in time or time distortion. By a show of hands in the chat, how many people have ever met somebody? I want to make sure I didn't mute myself, did I? How many people here have ever met somebody that, even though you only knew them for a few minutes or half an hour, after speaking with them, it just seemed like you've known them your entire life? Like, for some mysterious reason, the time just changed. And it's like this person has always been a part of your life. Like there was someone that was always important to you and you knew was going to be important going forward. Have you ever had an experience like that? Right. That's what level 3 questions do. Level 3 questions allow you to create the experience of having known somebody your whole life, right? And so the keyword that we use, the code that we use for level 3 questions is early positive childhood experiences. Okay. So the question that I originally learned to stimulate this was, so I'm curious, where did you grow up? Who were your friends? What did you love to play at when you were a kid? Right? So what happens is, and the important thing to remember is that the further back in time we go, the more foundational to our personality and our identity our memories become. In the clinic, when we would regress, when people would come in for things like, losing weight, social anxiety, post-traumatic stress disorder, getting over a breakup, getting over being stuck about starting a business or business failing, losing a loved one, like to cancer or disease, we would have what is commonly referred to as a presenting problem. In other words, there's something that brought them to the clinic. Okay. So someone comes in and says, I need to, I'm 35 years old. I just got a divorce and it's been, I got divorced. The divorce was final 3 years ago. I still can't seem to open up and find a relationship. Right. I don't let people pass. Most of my dates don't go past 2 or 3. I just can't seem to relax or open up. Or maybe somebody started a business, right? And if they lost it, now they're having emotional problems getting back on the horse. Well, that's their presenting problem. That's what they came in with. But when you actually talk to the boss, when you actually put them in a trance and say, go back to the very first scene, situation, or event, that is the source, the beginning, the root cause of XYZ problem that you're having today, 99 times out of 100, without fail, they go back to the ages 0 to 5 years old. Okay? Because you're nothing but a blank hard drive back then. So when we ask the question, tell me about your childhood. Where did you grow up? Who did you love to play with? What did you love to play at? Another transderivational search happens where we literally open up the memory files. We find the memory relevant to what we asked them to find. And what happens is in their head, they play that movie. As they're talking about it, they're reliving the movie. But who are they looking at? Who are they looking at when they're reliving the movie? Who are they describing to as they're reliving the movie? If you did not answer in your own head themselves, well, actually, no, they're looking at you, the editorial you. If I'm with you right now and you're telling me about an early childhood experience, who are you looking at? I'm in your field of vision. Yes, you're playing a movie in your head, and you may not consciously be orienting on me, but you're looking at me. I'm in your awareness. Okay? Guess who all those feelings get linked to? That's right. Now, one aspect of those feelings, you ever notice that memories that are really old have a slightly different feel to them than memories that are recent? Have you noticed that? Yes or no? It's okay if you didn't. It's all right. The length, the sense of time connected to the memory gets linked to you as well. What actually happens is in a very weird way, you actually insert yourself into that memory so that when they cycle through that memory, when they relive and reconstruct that memory, you're in it. And so they feel, when they look at you, they feel like they've known you since that memory was first created. This is why you have to be careful, because love is generated with shared emotional experiences over time. The only variable is the time, but the more emotional experiences you've had with somebody, the more connected you get. Okay? So if you do this with somebody who's not stable, well, shit could happen. And I've had people tell me about, I didn't listen to your warning and I did this with this crazy person and blah, 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 blah. Right? So here's the secret. You never use level 3 questions unless they've passed all of your tests. If you have any red flags, any doubts, keep them at level 2. Right? You can generate powerful, very, very fulfilling relationships and not lock people into being in love with you. Okay? So again, level 3 is a gift you give to people. In the past, I just skipped to that level. Yeah, you can. A lot of times you'll do that organically. Right? But remember, the point of the protocol is to do 2 things, is to accelerate trust, connection, and intimacy, and stimulate self-disclosure. Now, the best part about 3 magic questions, and this is why Chase Hughes loved it so much, is the deeper into this process you get, the harder it is for the other person to lie to you without sending massive tells and signaling. So it really is a powerful life skill to have. Okay. And again, we'll cover this in depth at the live training in June. It'll also be taught in your Secrets of Human Influence package, right? But it's really, really powerful. We use it for a lot of things. Okay. Any questions about level 3? You guys are either brilliant or I'm a great teacher. I'm not sure which. So this is a last call, as they say. Again, if you've been on the fence, if you've gotten any value from the tidbits and the sample platter I share with you, I please encourage you to click this link. Go to www.killerinfluence.com/go-hi. You'll get the Secrets of Human Influence home study course valued at $2,497. You'll get the Weapons of Mass Instruction valued at $1,997. We're going to give that to you free. The Renegade Reframing course, $1,997. We're going to give that to you for free. Charisma and Conversion, again, $1,997 for free. NLP Power Mastermind Mentoring Program and the 11-year video archive. Access, $1,597 value. We're going to give that to you for free. The Stealth Instant Conversational Hypnosis Crash Course, $997 value, absolutely free. And of course, the big Mondo Supremo bonus, the Killer Influence VIP Super Ticket, 5-day hypnosis certification, June 20th through the 24th here in San Diego, California, valued at $3,150. Total package value is $14,225. You get it all for one low installment of just $997. Or if you need to, you can break that up into 3 easy installments of $997 each. All you got to do is go to www.killerinfluence.com/GO. Just click it in the chat link there, and you'll be good to go. If you have questions, reach out to Stephanie, and she'll walk you through the process. She'll get all of your customer service issues lined out. Thank you to Holly, Seth, Henry, Brandon, and all the other team members who are in the background making this stuff flow smooth, answering all your questions. Thank you to all of my Planet David veterans who've supported us over the years, who've been with us through thick and thin, but even most importantly, who've taken the techniques out into the world and actually used them and changed your life for the better. You are our message to the world. Jerry, you get these courses within 24 hours, actually usually the same day, but give it up to 24 hours for the processing to go through. But usually it's within an hour you get it. So But again, if you have any questions about how those products are delivered, they're all digital downloads. So just go to www, or just call Stephanie at 858-282-4663. Okay. Yeah, I want to thank you all for spending time with me. It's good to be back. Hopefully, our brothers and sisters on YouTube won't feel cheated or dissed because of the technical issues we were having. Do you have any other questions that I can answer for you before I set you loose in the world? All right. Well, that being said, I want to thank you all once again. Once again, thank you to the team. And this is Dr. David. Over and out. Good night. Have a great day.